Welcome to the Class is Permanent podcast. Today is Friday, April 10th, and we have an awesome episode up here ahead of you. We're going to jump into the news. We, of course, have a big Champions League recap. We have an awesome interview with James Murphy of Loudoun United. We'll, of course, get into a weekend preview. Let's not keep you waiting. Away we go.
Class is permanent!
Alrighty. We have a good one here for you guys, and I'm excited to jump in. Let's do some quick intros. Before I go to my usual right-hand man, let me go to my man who I've not seen in a while because he has been dead. Admin Owen, how are we feeling, brother?
He rises.
Back. I've risen again, anew, molded by the husk of my former self, from which I have bursted.
Yo.
So I'm feeling better. It's great to be back talking to my two favorite boys, Pucc and E, for those wondering. It's Pucc and E. It's the same people every time.
The Vietnamese audience that just tuned in are so confused who Owen is because they probably haven't listened.
Guys, I was here the whole time. I just missed a couple.
Him and our other producer, Brett. But as Owen alluded to, my main man here, he is wearing a disgusting shirt today. He's wearing an Arsenal kit.
It's actually a beautiful kit.
It's a nice shirt. Daniel
Yeah.
Capucci.
What's up, E? How are you?
I'm good, Pooch. I'm well. I'm excited to get into it. Owen is back. He's feeling better. He had a
real
flu.
quick,
Yes.
before you continue, I have to tell Owen something that's been on my mind for about a week and a half.
Let's hear
I
it.
think you would do fantastic on the Artemis 4 mission.
Thank you, man. They actually sent me an email.
Yeah, I don't want you on Artemis 2. I don't want you just looking at the moon. I don't want you on Artemis 3 where you're like, this could be a good, like, boots on the ground. This could be a good setup for a future colony. No, I want you leading the charge. Artemis 4, colony building. I think you would do fantastic on it, and I've been meaning to tell you that. You've just been sick, so this is my first chance to say that.
That means a lot coming from you. It really does. And that's something I'm actively working towards. So I guess
Okay,
I don't
good.
want to get too much into that because I'm sure you guys will hear more once we hear more down the line.
Yeah.
But something to look out for.
That was awesome, Pooch. That was very nice of you. Very nice of you to compliment Owen on his way back. Owen got so inspired by Jesus, he just decided to resurrect himself too. So inspirational. But before we jump into the news, I want to say real quick, and I'm going to do a quick look up here, how to say hello in Vietnamese. Xin chào, which is how you say...
Be careful. Be careful.
Wait. For all the bad pronunciations, when I actually try to speak a language and say it, I'm going to get shit.
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful.
No. I was on a bit of a delay there because I heard you say, let me try and figure out how to say this. And then I was like, oh, wait, no.
No, it's Xin chào. So me and Pooch, and we talk about this a little bit in the interview too, with some of the pros coming on, I've decided, hey, let me take a look at some of our viewership, how we've been doing numbers-wise. It's always important, analytics. We're stats guys. We're not. And I have noticed that our most 33% of our listeners happen to be in the Vietnam area. I think some in Myanmar, as Pooch said, the Southeast Asia. So to them, I say Xiao Chao. Welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you.
And to them, I say sorry.
Why sorry?
Past stuff.
Pooch's getting geopolitical. This is an awesome episode and a way to start us off. There are so many people who are probably like, oh, James Murphy, I can't wait to listen to his interview. And they have just heard Pooch tell Owen about Artemis 2, how he should be on it. Me introduce myself to the Vietnamese. I also love pho, by the way.
Pho's amazing.
Pho is so much better than ramen. Ramen is so overrated. Pho,
Ramen,
you don't leave.
Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I'll eat ramen. I think we all will, but pho is so good. So just a quick shout out to the Vietnamese.
Pho to me is up there with fufu, but it's not fufu.
Wait, you've never had fufu though?
I have.
When did you have fufu?
One time, Newark, New Jersey. Try it.
I'd love to.
Ethan.
What's that?
Ethan.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said. Anyway, first off, I tried to have fufu with you, and you would not during AFCON, but that's okay.
No, you tried a goosey. You wanted to have a goosey.
Correct. I wanted to have Pucc as a goosey. He had a good spot with the goosey. We're pretty multicultural here. This is a good start. This is a fun start. That's why we have 95 followers. Let's get into the footy then. We've definitely had a busy one here. Let's jump into the news. First thing here, my beloved Tottenham. We were all very excited about Mohamed Kudus coming back from injury.
Oh.
Yeah, supposedly he suffered a setback, is going to need surgery, and I don't know what his timetable, but like he's done for the season. Awesome. Yeah. Someone that De Zerbi wanted at Brighton. I think they agreed terms, and then he ended up moving to West Ham. I don't know what fell through, but kind of frustrating because that was a player I was excited to get back. Yeah, frustrating. Another story here as we rip through the news. I saw this on ESPN. It's actually a decent article. It's called 3 Questions Hanging Over the Socceroos' Head of the World Cup. And I just feel like this is something that we should bring up. So I'm going to ask one of the questions here. Which center back doesn't make the Socceroos World Cup squad? Pucc.
Shoot. Who's that one player that I really like from the Socceroos? He plays on the German club. He has all the tattoos.
I have no idea.
He's on the German club. The club just got called up last year, and they stayed up. Give me like 30 seconds to find it. He's on St. Pauli.
I'm not going to be able to save you here, Pucc. This is one of those things
I know.
where I'm not going to be able to help you.
I'm looking at it. Jackson Irvine.
Oh, okay. So that's who. He definitely does make the squad, or he doesn't make the squad.
He doesn't make the squad. That was the question, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Jackson Irvine.
All right. The next big question: which Socceroos midfielders will get the nod from Popovich, the coach?
I'm thinking maybe Jackson Irvine, but unsure 100%.
That's totally fair. And then the final question here is: how many traditional strikers will Popovich include in the squad?
So if I'm Greg, I'm probably including 4, but
okay,
that's just me. If I had to guess, he's probably going to include 2.
Okay. Yeah, what I loved about that article as I clicked on it is the 3 questions are: who is he going to bring to the team? Like, what is the roster going to look like? What defenders, midfielders, strikers?
Shout out ESPN for the hard-hitting questions, man. They're always good at that. I'm glad we have more Stephen A. Smith content and less hard-hitting questions.
Well, is Rossini part of ESPN? Her name's been in the news this week.
Stop. Don't.
they were just interlocking their fingers as friends. You're right, Pucc.
Ethan, how many times have me and you interlocked our hands, danced on a rooftop of a bungalow in a secluded Arizona resort? How many times?
The problem is with your argument is that was romantic too. So anyway.
You're right.
This is quite the episode, quite the start. All right, let's get into it. We talked about Pucc. We'll be doing his World Cup book reports here. So you got 1958. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to go through the 1958 World Cup and why it was exciting, not exciting, whatever.
So 1958 was an interesting one. You're coming off 54, where, as we all know, West Germany wins. Hungary basically collapses. And so there's kind of a vacuum for a new soccer superpower. Mm-hmm. Enter the rise of Pele. So it's actually funny. Pele, as he's better known, he got the nickname because I believe a child in the stands couldn't pronounce the words correctly, and the B turned into a P. So I think his original name had something to do with B. It's in the book, it's in the chapter. I forget what his actual name is, but it was like the kid would call him Pele, but it was like B, like Bele was the actual nickname.
Can I give you a quick timeout and tell you the why?
Yeah.
I have it right here.
Yeah.
He was nicknamed Pele during his childhood, reportedly arising from his mispronunciation of his favorite player's name, a goalkeeper named, I guess, Bele, where it was spelled with a B. Go on.
Yeah. So I guess he was the child that couldn't pronounce it. So he's 17 years old. There's Garnacha, and another really good striker for the Brazilian team.
Right?
Garrincha, yeah.
Say Garnacha.
Yeah, I know.
He wasn't there.
No, I said Garnacha, but we'll move past that. So they have a really good team. The future president of FIFA, the really corrupt one, was the president of Brazilian soccer. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he was before Sepp Blatter. And he basically came in and organized the Brazilian Federation, which was the first time a South American club did that. So like one of the things that he did was he brought in a doctor, he brought in a psychoanalysis guy, a brain guy. He brought in like an actual manager, like all of this stuff. When they picked the location for the World Cup, he made all of the female staff leave that like resort so that the players had zero distractions. By the way, the World Cup was held in Sweden. Um,
Okay.
and so they get to the World Cup. Uh, Pele and Garacha are by the head doctor person told that they are so stupid that they should not play in the games. But throughout the chapter, it basically discussed how like the manager, anytime this doctor would say like, "Hey, Pele literally is like below IQ, like you should not play him. He won't understand what's going on." The manager was like, "Yeah, no, I'm playing the 17-year-old who helped my team get here." So
Right.
that's Brazil. They actually end up going on to win it 7-2 or 5-2, excuse me. But there were a few like little parts that I found super interesting about the 1958 World Cup, one of them being Argentina. So Argentina at the time was considered was the best team in South America. They just won the Copa America. Like they were riding high. The only issue was they had a a rule that if players left the Argentinian like club league, they were no longer considered Argentinian and could not play for the Argentinian national team. So
Interesting.
they had like a crazy front three at the time.
Was it
I
like
guess it
DeStefano?
not yet, no.
Okay.
But it would modern day be compared to like MSN or BBC or something like that. Like that's how good they were, but all three went to Italy to play for the Italian clubs. So they weren't considered for the Argentinian national team. I think all three of them ended up going just to the Italian national team. Um, but so they lost those three guys. They're still considered the best team in South America, whatever. They go to the World Cup. They were drinking and whoring their way around Sweden. And I think it was the Czechoslovakian team, which wasn't a great team, but the players, when they were interviewed for this, for like that World Cup, they were like, we were so fat and hungover that like we could not like they were like the Czechoslovakian team, they weren't better than us. Like we had better skill. They just
Right.
like were above average fitness and we were so below fitness levels that like we were horrendous. And they ended up getting bounced in the group stage. Um, and then the other quick note was the Soviet Union had this crazy good striker, but it's the Soviet Union. So, like, he's scoring all these goals. He's doing really, really well. And then he, the Soviet Union itself felt as though had too much individualism and it was kind of going all to his head, like the star treatment, all of this stuff. So, he ends up getting charged with um raping somebody um like a few months before the World Cup, and he gets sent to the gulag for like a decade. Like the
Okay.
Soviet Union's best player. And then it comes out later on that there's a potential that the Soviet Union actually set him up so that he wouldn't play because of his individualism. But like
What?
that was one of the reasons why the Soviets, like they had a team that could have won the World Cup, but they basically shot themselves in their own foot because they sent their best player to the gulag. Um,
Okay.
Overall, a really good World Cup. I put it down as, I believe, my third best World Cup that I've read so far, up to 58. So I'm
Okay.
6 World Cups in, and this comes in at third. I don't think it had so much of the, like, oh, I could see this as a TV show or like a documentary,
Yeah.
but it was like ethical footy in a sense. Like you have the rise of Brazil, the rise of 17-year-old Pele, like the start of something new. Where also I think I mentioned last week, like the 4-2-4,
Yeah.
the Brazilians, the head of Brazilian football hired one of the Argentinian coaches to be the assistant coach on this team and
Okay.
brought the 4-2-4 over to Brazil. and this was the first time it was like really mainstream because Brazil won the World
Gotcha.
Cup with it, that it's like, oh shoot, like this is a whole new way to play because you had attacking fullbacks and it
Right.
wasn't like three in the back, two in the middle, three wingers, two strikers. It was legitimately like attacking fullbacks. You had two guys always on the two strikers. Um, no overlaps really. So like it was a whole new way of playing and just like the flair that the Brazilians did. It made up for the 1950 World Cup where they lost to Uruguay in the final at home. So it was a good like okay, this is now we're starting to get more into modern
Yeah.
football and not so much of like the early days where it's like just a bunch of amateurs being like, let's just step out onto a field after an 8-day shift or 8-hour shift and play footy.
100%. All right. So good stuff there, Pooch. We appreciate the report. I think it's kind of cool to hear about some of these earlier World Cups, especially for myself,
Mhm.
because these are World Cups like you'll hear like, oh, Pele's first one, but like you don't really know anything about it. And there's obviously more of a story to it. Every World Cup has all these other little stories, things like that you may not know.
Well,
So,
yeah, even Pele in the book, he described, and I'm sure this was an interview, not in the
mhm.
like the guy took it from somewhere, but basically he described watching his dad because Pele grew up dirt poor, like most of the Brazilian team did. Like they were all dirt poor play like guys. Um, and he said that he remembers like he always for dinner would have bread and a banana. Bread and a banana was
Okay.
his dinner as a child.
Sure.
And he said one day his parents brought home like a full like basically like a full spread of like just random food like
Okay.
big like foods like oh my god what's happening, all of his dad's friends came over and they were all huddled around the radio listening to the 1950 World Cup final, and he was like all me and my friends were like running outside playing soccer, coming back in listening to the radio outside like what you do as a
Right.
kid. But he said it was the first time he ever saw his father cry when Brazil lost to Uruguay in the
Yes.
final. And he said to his dad in that moment at like 9, 10 years old, he was like, don't be sad. One day I'm going to win one for you. And then literally like 2 World Cups, so like 8 years later, he's the one going out, and I'm pretty sure he scored the second goal and then another goal in that final.
hmm
So, like, I think he had like 13 goals the whole tournament, something like that, but like legitimately like has the game-winning goal in that final. And like he said in an interview, like after the game, all he could think about was his dad, like listening to the
Yeah.
1950 World Cup on the radio and fulfilling his promise to his father. So it's like stuff like that where you're like, that's why I put it third, because I'm like, oh, it's such a good story. Like
Yeah.
just like a guy who had nothing growing up and like just is like he knows his father only wants one thing, and that's to see a Brazil World Cup. And
hmm
he's the one that can deliver that to his father. Like just great story.
100%. My dad one time got really sad that he couldn't make it as a podcaster. So I told him one day, Dad, don't worry, I'll make it as the premier USL player podcaster. And here we are. Good stuff there. I do also remember that at some point Pele wanted to be a pilot. And then I think somewhere near his favela or wherever he grew up, a plane crashed and he saw the pilot die in
Mhm.
front of him. And I think it changed. He was like, I don't want to be a pilot anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was him who told that story in one of his books. But
And
crazy.
real quick, now that I'm remembering more about that World Cup, 2 little notes. That was the last time Wales made the World Cup for 64 years. I think
Shit.
the 2022 World Cup was the first time that they made it back, I
Okay.
think.
That sounds right. I feel like that
And
sounds
then
right.
yeah, and then England was supposed to be one of, like, the best teams that year, but because they got into that Munich plane crash a few months before, like, legitimately maybe 5 months before, half of their, like, best players got, like, killed. So, like, they ended
Oh,
up, I think, getting grouped. But, like, they had, like, 3 of the best players, like, on that Man United team that were consistently winning prems, going to European finals, like,
hmm
die or, like, get
yeah.
injured so much that they couldn't play footy anymore. So, like, that was another case of, like, "Oh, shit," like, England could have done something in this tournament, but they literally had guys pass away. So, just one of those where you're like, "Ah," there were some storylines, not enough, I think, for a TV show, but it was still entertaining enough to put it third.
100%. Good stuff. Let's get into some modern day footy then. We had a huge Champions League, I guess 2 nights of it here with the quarterfinals. Let's just start here at the top. Real Madrid fall to Bayern Munich 2-1. I went back and ended up watching the highlights. I'll give my takes on it for you guys who maybe have watched the games actually in its totalness. My initial takes. Number one, Neuer, and listen, for a while, I'm not going to say I was skeptical, but I had my own biases. I'd say maybe Casillas, some other man. Neuer, I think, is the greatest goalkeeper of all time. 40 years old, and this man is keeping his team in a Champions League quarterfinal. I don't know if there was one particular save off the top of my head that was like, he didn't do maybe some of the Courtois heroics, pulling things out of top corners, but goals that if he conceded, you wouldn't have blamed him. None of them. Kept his team in the final, or excuse me, in the match. Allows them to be able to go up 2-1, right, and take that. Kane's goal, ridiculous. He is. Yeah. I cannot hear arguments that he is not the best striker in the world. If you want to say Haaland's the best goal, like it feels like a very him versus Haaland right now feels like a very Ronaldo versus Messi, where it's like, yeah, I guess Haaland is what you want, right? Like speed, probably a better just tap-in merchant type of vibe, or but what Kane can do, first off, where he just pulls out goals like that, but then will also drop 60 yards deep and ping a ball to Olise or ping a ball to Luis Diaz. He's on a different planet. I would, based on these current results right now, right, and the way things are looking, right, Barca obviously down 2-0. Arsenal, I guess, are up 1-0. PSG up 2-0 over Liverpool. At this point, and we'll see what happens at the World Cup. The World Cup's going to have a huge factor. I think Kane has to be in the Ballon d'Or conversation. I do. What Bayern are doing, his ability, obviously, not the longevity has to do with things, but there has to be something about being able to play at this level for so long that he has to get his flowers. Here's what I will say. I think Bayern played well. I think Bayern deserved to win. Real Madrid plays this weird style of footy, man, where a lot of those chances on another day go in. And we're looking at maybe 3-2 where, Madrid are up 3-2 and you're they played like shit. But when you have Mbappe and Vinicius just running counters, you got to find a way to mitigate those because, again, Neuer was on his day, but that could have flipped very quick. There was a couple where, just maybe they were unlucky. Maybe, again, it was Neuer. But I think Bayern looked good. I think Real Madrid showed more fight than I thought, especially on the counter. But that's how they're going to win. The only way Real Madrid is going to win this draw is if they get on the counter and they're able to take advantage of opportunities. This week they weren't. If I'm Bayern, you have to find a way to limit those. But Pucc, what are your thoughts on this one?
My thoughts were kind of similar to you. I think, what was I going to say about Kane? I think he probably is, and this is biases aside, the most underrated striker of all time. Because I don't think, even thinking about it right now, when you brought up the Haaland debate, immediately I did think Haaland's a better striker. I was like, I don't understand what he's saying. But Kane's ability to basically play a false nine, play a poacher, play whatever, a true number nine, whatever you need him to do at the striker position, he does. And he can bang in a goal from 20 yards away. He can bang in a goal from 5 yards out. He just puts balls in the back of the net. I think it's similar to Luis Suarez, where you always think Suarez was good, but never reached the heights maybe that he should have in terms of underratedness. I think both of them are in the same category, but I think Kane is better than Suarez. I just think Kane's super underrated as a striker.
Yeah.
The game itself, I do think Neuer played out of his mind. I think, from what I've heard, he's not going to be the starter for the German national team now. So for him to play like that at 40 years old, you're right, is insane. I do think Real Madrid, he played on his head so well that you're right. If he doesn't play as well, even 3% less is less better. You're sitting there and you're like, 4-2 Real Madrid win. Crazy how they did that. Bayern looked so good. With that being said, I don't think Real Madrid can come back even if Neuer doesn't play as well. I think this was the leg for them to get a win, similar to Man City, where it's hey, we play at our home first. Let's get a lead and then bring that over to their home. I think it's a different task trying to come back away from home. And I think it'll be tough for them. I just don't even. I mean, Olise too. We could spend an hour
He's
talking about
ridiculous.
Michael Olise and how good he is. I don't know if you watched the post game on Tuesday or not,
Did
but
not.
Thierry Henry broke it down amazingly. Where Henry said the thing that he does so well and that more wingers don't do that they need to do is basically square up the defender where they don't know which way to go. So like somebody like Yamal
Yeah.
does that. Olise does that. Where when they get the ball, they position their body in a way to basically have the defender square on with them instead of the defender jockeying them. And when that happens, it's like, okay, well, I can go inside of you, I can go outside of you, and I know I can beat you with pace. So then that fullback is sitting there being like, shoot, like I have to watch the outside. And then the minute that fullback makes that decision to be like, okay, I'm going to cover the outside, boom, you're in the inside, in the channel, and then you can link up with a Harry Kane, do a 1-2, something like that. So, like, just the way Henri broke it down, I don't know if they have clips online for his breakdown or whatever,
I'm sure you
but
can
if
find
they
it somewhere.
yeah, if they do, I highly recommend everybody watch it because, I mean, you're talking about one of the best wingers of all time discussing it. It's like watching, like, Picasso paint or something like that in terms of the way he was describing it. So that was
100%.
my thoughts on the game. I think Bayern played better than Madrid, but like you said, Madrid have just this weird thing where they like never seem too far out of it. Like they always are in the hunt.
They're dangerous, man. And I was trying to find like, and you know, a lot of times on this show, I'll find a way to compare it to another sport. I think sometimes some of the guys that listen, maybe they're a little bit new to soccer. So I try and like relate it. And I haven't really been able to find a good example other than like kind of in basketball, a team that just like lives and dies by the three ball. And that's kind of what Madrid feels like. Not that they're hitting, 30-yard shots, but the fact that they're kind of like, all right, we may have less opportunities. We just have to hit them, and that's it. There's no sustained buildup. They're not going to kill you to death by wasting this shot clock. They're going to take the ball. They're going to run at you. If they score three, that great. You know what I mean? They're probably in the clear. But just the way that they're currently lined up, and I don't think it's sustainable, and I think we all see that. Everyone has said it since day one. If Mbappe and Vinicius are on their day, you could beat anybody in the world. The problem is if you have a goalkeeper like Neuer or a team that is able to neutralize or only give you 1 to 2 good chances, you're in a bad spot. Bayern ended up, yeah.
It happened last year with Arsenal too, right? Where it's like
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal go up 3-0 in that first leg, and then Madrid had nothing the second leg. They
Yep.
had the aura of the Bernabeu was their big thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, like they go up against a team that's a solid defensive team, and it's like, all right, well we tried everything.
Yeah.
They don't have attack like they've always the last 5 years. Ever since Ronaldo, Benzema, and Bale, that whole group. I mean, Cruz, like I could go on about that team,
Yeah.
but ever since that team left, it's like they're still trying to do that thing, which is
Right.
like basically, hey, you guys are the best 11 players in the world. Do what you do. Play the beautiful game. And for them, it
Yep.
worked because that was the best 11 in the world at the time. But nowadays, it's like you don't have the best 11 in the world, and you're still
Yep.
like these players are still either expecting to play like that or expect themselves to play like that. And it's like you got to try an actual tactic, which is
It's just
also stupid why they got rid of Xabi Alonso because it's like,
Yep.
once again, I don't think it was the perfect match because the players clearly didn't want to do that, and it's tough when nobody puts their 100% into that. But like that's the way modern football is you need some sort of tactics to go along with the playing unless you have the best 11 players of the sport on one team at a single time. Then you can be like, you
Right.
guys just play however you want to play. I'll sit back and watch.
Yep.
But no team right now in the world
At-
has that. So
At the end of the day, right, we talk about tactics. And I think when we talk about the complexity of tactics, I think that's where you and I sometimes are like, you just have to put out something simple and, you could for a lot of games. The complexity of tactics comes down to a game like this, Bayern versus Madrid, where you're right. Like you have on the field, whether they're the best or not, you have 22 of the best in the world sitting on the field. Where now a game plan needs to be like where we're getting intricate, because like those are the fine details that wins or loses a game. Real Madrid going against Osasuna in La Liga, throw your talent on the field and let them do what they got to do. Of course, you have your tactics and your goals, but like I promise you, Arbeloa is not sitting there and he's not watching hours of film on Osasuna. He probably has an idea. They're going to sit in a low block. They have maybe their right back is their best player and he wants to go up the field. Against Bayern, you need a player profile on every guy. Against a team like Bayern, you need to understand how they want to build out of the like these intricate things, because that is how you end up finding wins and stealing points. There are times where you probably show up with shit tactics or barely anything and just, hey, we just have to beat them with our men. Congrats if you do. But like when people talk about Pep Guardiola and what he has done, you don't really always hear him talk about what he's doing to like Bournemouth, right? That's not impressive. It's when he walks on the field against Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United can't figure out what to do because he has tactically beat them, even though you had 22 of the best on the field.
Or even Arsenal in the Carabao Cup with Pep, where it's like he puts that mid block in. And we haven't seen that this year against like I've watched basically every single Arsenal game besides one. Not a single team has tried that. And he was the first to do it. And we look totally inept playing out of the back because of it. So it's like, that's what you need. And he has one of the best teams in the world and he's able to do it. Like you have to do that against the good teams.
Yep. 100%. We'll move on to the next one, but you're totally right with that, right? We get intricate, and I think the intricacies need to come against opponents where you're splitting hairs. But for Madrid moving forward, I think everyone knows Arbeloa is not a long-term appointment. I think they'll find someone else this summer. Who that is, not my problem. But there needs to be an ego check at that door. We can't say it every episode. But there's the ego check realistically should be is when they go trophyless this season. Mbappe has to go in and go, holy shit, I just went trophyless. I got a tactical manager sacked. Like, that's it. And it's not going to be that, unfortunately. They keep calling, the meme is starting to go around that Mbappe is like a dictator.
Well, he sent his brother to Algeria.
Exactly. There was that. There was the thing that the second for the France team he gets subbed on, he's like pointing at someone, like give him the armband, stuff like that. He's turning very Ronaldo-esque in the fact like he needs to be the center of attention, and I'm almost starting to like Vinicius more than him. I almost feel like Vinicius is like, I don't know, like your Odell Beckham, where he's got kind of like attitude issues, but you're like the guy just kind of wants to ball, and then
Vinicius is ethical winger.
Definitely not ethical.
No. In terms of like that's how your winger should act.
Yes,
like Vinicius,
he's a wide receiver.
Yeah, and you want to know what? Credit to Vinicius, he would die for that badge, the Real Madrid badge.
100%, and I don't think Mbappe would. And what's funny is, let's talk about examples. So Vinicius is your diva winger, where you're gonna have is your AJ Brown, things like he's like when he's on the field, he's one of the best players in the game. He wants the ball, he expects it. He's gonna deal with all the hate. Probably want him to like level his head a little bit. Mbappe is literally your he's like your Russell Wilson, where when he was in Denver, he's like wants his private office. He really I would call him like Brady, but I don't really know. Like Brady didn't really cause issues like this. I don't know who like your star players. I think it's like Russell Wilson in Denver. Other than the fact, obviously Wilson at this point was washed. Mbappe is
Geno Smith on the Jets.
Juno's. You mean Geno?
That's why I said Geno. You're the one that just said Juno.
It sounded like you said Juno. Whatever, Pucci. Let's move into your team. So I'll give my take real quick, and then I'll let you kind of let it rip. But Sporting lose to Arsenal 1-0. It's a 91st, 92nd minute goal from Havertz. Again, I watched the extended highlights, so I did not watch this game like with a true flow to it. Shout out to Sporting. They heard my words saying that they had no chance in this tie. And I think they put on a fight. Maxi Araujo ended up having a decent game. I think he hit like the crossbar at one point with a shot. He hit another one. I was pleasantly surprised by Sporting. Arsenal, again, just find a way to win. And I'll say two things about this. Number one, separate. Yes, of course, you need to find ways to win. You find a 1-0 win, you get your job done, you move on. On the other side, it's like, and this isn't me being biased or lighting like a fire. This is me just saying, like, I'd be a little anxious with the way we looked against Sporting. I don't know. I'm going to let you give your take. I thought Sporting, I'm giving credit to Sporting, but I'm also saying, again, if I'm an Arsenal fan, there has to be a little bit of a hesitation too, right?
I have a few points on it, but I just want to start at Ethan saying, I feel a little nervous about the way, quote, we look. You added a we in there right there. So I just want to point that one out.
Figure of speech. Definitely not an Arsenal fan.
I know,
you,
but you would do the same thing to me, so it's like tennis. I'm
you
giving
volleyed.
back the serve. Yes, I'm volleying back the
Mm,
serve. This this game was exactly how I said it would play out. It's gonna look nervy. We're gonna look like, ugh, like this is disgusting. It's just how Arsenal play this year. Odegaard played for the first time in a few months, and I think the one thing that helped us is our buildup because he drops so low to help with the buildup.
okay.
Because like we saw against City, when he's not in the team and he doesn't drop as low as he does to help with the buildup, you're relying on our center backs to help build it up, and we just don't have the players to do that. I don't think it's like we need to go out and spend 80 million on a
Hmm.
new center back to help with that. I just think that's who they are. They have other qualities that are good. But with that being said, you lose the Eze effect of like a true classic number 10 where he can create stuff at the top of the pitch. So it's like I saw things coming out just from fans. It's not going to happen, but wanting to see an Odegaard 10, Declan Rice 6, and Eze 10 or Eze Odegaard
Odegaard
8.
8.
Yeah, Declan Rice 6, Eze 10, which would work, but at the same time, that's basically what we play right now, except we play 2 8s and a 6 realistically. Like Odegaard
Okay.
isn't a true 10. Um, I I think Madueke and Araujo, I did think had a good game. He also had about 15 fouls and he didn't get a card,
Yeah, I saw
which
that
was
too.
crazy to me. Um, I just think this is the team. I mean, it's April 10th. Like we're not changing our identity like this late in the season, even after a couple losses, to go into Sporting, get a 1-0 win, and then know that you have a home game this upcoming week against them with a lead, to
Yeah.
me feels like a good spot. This is kind of where I felt like if we went out of there 0-0, I would have looked like a genius from Tuesday's episode because that's what I said. I said like
Yeah.
I feel like the way that we're going to get a draw or a loss and then have to rebuild on the following week, but I eh, I don't know how much I don't know how much into detail more I can go on this because
Hmm.
I feel like it's just who we are at this point. And like
Okay.
to bring up the conversation we discussed weeks ago at this point, but like of your like, do you enjoy watching like all of that? I think I said it then. Like it's not a fun watch, but like if it helps me win the Champions League, like if it helps me win the Prem, I'll take it because I've never won the Champions League. I haven't won the Prem in 20 years. So
Hmm.
it is one of those where it's like you take it if it's given to you. Is it exciting to watch 70 minutes of us passing square and passing back in the opposition half? No. But you want to know what? It gets us the win. I think Havertz had an excellent finish um on the one goal. Or the only goal. Um Gyökeres I thought played decent. Madueke, I thought played decent. Martinelli, when he came on, did you see in the extended highlights? Did they show his assist, like the
Yes.
entire assist, where
Yes.
he literally
He picked up the ball and yeah.
but he convulsed on the sidelines for about 10 seconds, like he did the Anthony meme where Anthony's like moving his foot over the ball for about 5 seconds. He did that. And then he made such a great turn upfield and played that ball in that it was worth it. But I saw that like when I'm watching in real time and I see him just shaking for 10 seconds, I'm like, brother, just do something else. Like, this is
Right.
not like in that moment, I was like, this is why everybody wants to sell you. Like, this is why everyone wants to sell you because you come
100%.
on 5 minutes in and do this. But
100%.
I feel like I've talked about this game long enough. I mean, it was a 1-0 win in the 93rd.
It.
So
I think everyone, at the end of the day, everyone was watching Real Madrid Bayern. So I think it actually is
yeah,
good for them to get an idea. I guess my point here, I'm going to take off my Spurs hat and just kind of put on my neutral footy fan. I guess my point here and where I'd be a little bit anxious is, yeah, in the Prem, you figured it out. I think you guys have won the Prem. That's done. No problems. I guess my fear in Champions League is against Sporting, it worked. You're good. My next fear is, all right, I mean, I guess the next matchup would, at this point, it'd be Atleti's up 2-0. That's where I think you get a little bit more anxious against a Bayern. Like, do you feel confident in your guys' ability to lock down? I guess you beat them
We
earlier
beat
this
both
year.
teams. We beat both teams earlier this year.
I
But
guess
once
so.
again, different teams. I think both, besides actually Atletico picked up a few guys
Mm-hmm.
in the January window. But we also played a different brand. Like table play is different than a knockout tournament.
Right.
And I think our formula works really well in a knockout tournament, actually, where it's over 2 legs, all of that. I think also the fact of we had similar to the Premier League where we have all of these scars of like, hey, 2 years ago you get knocked out by Bayern in the quarterfinals by a goal. Like it was a
Yeah.
1-0, 2 legs. Last year to PSG by I think 2 or 3 goals. It ended up being 2 or 3 goals, but like you went into that second leg at PSG down a goal. Like so
Right.
like it's kind of like a similar thing where it's like, okay, like you keep reaching those steps and like every single time you cut it open, like it scars back over. Um so I feel confident that we could still get it over the line in the Champions League,
Okay.
but not as confident as I feel in the Prem, just because of, like you mentioned, like we also like haven't won the Champions League ever in our history. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like one of those like unknown territory. Like, what do we do if we get to a final? Like this team, the last time they just played a one-off final, they lost 2-0. To a Man City team. So I don't know. I can't talk about a final against a Bayern Munich or a PSG or a
Right.
Liverpool or whoever until I get there. All I know is that it feels like if we can put in one more goal against Sporting in the return leg,
Yeah, you'll be fine.
I yeah, like I feel confident enough in our defense that we can hold it together. And we had a defense with Ben White playing in it, who I
Mm-hmm.
think at this point, if you look at his FIFA card, he probably has 58 pace. Like the guy legit, and I feel so bad for him because he like 2 or 3 years ago, he was really, really good, but he has had in the last 18 months so many injuries just to hamstrings, quads, knees that you can just see he's lost his legs, like, in terms of pace, like
Yeah, I know he also mentioned in the past, and we'll leave it at this with him too. But I know in the past he's kind of mentioned like he doesn't really love footy. He does it because he's like
I
elite
don't
at it.
I don't think that's as big as a deal that
Okay.
people make it out to be, like, I just don't think he's like you or I, where he's like, "Oh, I have, like, a couple free hours in
Right.
my day, like, let me pop on, like, this game." I
Right.
think that's what he meant. Like, that is what he meant by that. It wasn't like him going into work being like, "Oh, I'm so good at this, but I hate doing it." I think
No.
it's
Yeah.
literally like his free time. He's not like us where we're like ball knowers, like, and like sitting there watching. He'd rather like go out with like friends or like his wife and like all that stuff. So it's like I think that's what he meant, but like obviously the media construes it and then like people like yourself who like didn't watch the interview or know about it will
Yeah.
sit there and be like, oh, he doesn't do that. Or even like the assistant coach on England, that's the rumor, is that like basically
I
he
was it.
like
Right.
yeah, like that's why he did that. But from what I heard, since he got called up to the latest England camp, it was actually something like worse. Like it wasn't like he basically said, "You don't know anything. You don't like soccer. Like, what are you doing here?" It was something worse. Like, I mean, bad enough that apparently a bunch of journalists know what happened and they won't tell. So
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's move on to our next match here. Um, Barcelona lose to Atletico Madrid 2-0. I'm not going to get super long winded in this. Again, unfortunately, I work literally during the Champions League and I have no access to watching it. So I just have to watch the extended highlights and kind of use what I got in data. Here's my take on the Barca game. First things first is regardless of the result, they dominated this game. To just, again, we don't really want to go into stats too much, but to go into stats about this, Barca held 58% possession of the ball. They had a 1.1 XG Atleti had a .44. Barca took 18 total shots, 7 on target, to Atleti's 5 total shots with 3 on target. Barca had 2 big chances, Atleti had 1. My point here, more than anything, is for a team that was playing down 10 to 10 men with, I think he got the red one like the 40th. Atleti were playing like the team with 10 men. They scored goals. They kind of did the Real Madrid style where it's just like, got to figure it out. And of course, one of them was a free kick. Also, Sorloth. If you see Sorloth coming to the game against Barcelona, I want you to do something. I want you to take out your phone. I want you to open whatever betting site you like. I want you to put every dollar in your bank account on him scoring against Barcelona. He is going to score on us. Just bet on it. Yeah, when I saw that he ended up like getting subbed into the game, I got a notification on my watch. I was like, all right, yeah. And then like I think 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, he scored. Okay. Here's my take on the red. By the letter of the law, it's a red. If you call that a foul, which the ref did, he called it a foul. I'd argue it's a foul. It's a red. It just is. You can't argue it, right? I think a lot of Barca fans are like, oh, well, it's soft, extremely soft, but it's a red. That being said, because you have to follow rules to the letter of the law, later in the game, Mark Bubel, Atleti's center back, the goalkeeper puts the ball down for a goal kick, ends up passing it to him. He then takes his hand, puts his hand on the ball, and resets it to take another goal kick. Barca players, fans, coaches have all said, well, if we're playing by letter of the law, that should be a penalty. The goalkeeper set up a ball for a goal kick, set up, ended up passing it to Pubel, who's going to take it instead. Pubel stopped the ball, put his hand on the ball, and then passed it again. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things where it's like, if we're going letter of the law, let's go letter of the law. But again, and this sounds bad, but like I'm not particularly worried. I don't know if we'll go through, but I'm not particularly worried. It's a Barca team that's banged up. Right now, Rafinha's out. Pedri actually had to get subbed off through the game. He had muscle discomfort. He'll be okay. Frankie de Jong is on the mend. Bernal is on the mend. Yes, thank you. Pucc did a prayer.
Thank God. I thought he died.
And we're getting a lot of guys back healthy. So I'm not too worried. My next point on this, Lamine was ridiculous.
So was Rashford.
Rashford had a good game too. I just think
don't say it like that. For the first 30 minutes, it was a Marcus Rashford show. He was cooking.
Again, I watched extended highlights.
Okay. Yeah.
So I didn't see everything.
That game. I watched that game, and for the first before the red card, he was cooking Molina, the Argentinian right back.
Yeah.
Like Ethan, legitimately, I thought guy was. I thought he was going to pull the Neymar fullback where he just drops to his knees and prays. Like that's how much Rashford was cooking him. I was so shocked. I was like, dude, this guy is eating him alive.
Rashford has been, and some Barca fans don't love him because he's a little bit older, and we're going to pay $30 million for him. And he has not been. There's younger options, especially because I think they feel like you're going to have to replace him in a couple of years. The same with Rafinha. Rashford, for me, is the perfect backup to Rafinha.
Yeah.
Plays as an inside forward. He's not the same level, but he plays as an inside forward. He's going to run at you. He brings a little bit of like a pace and power player that we don't have when Rafinha's out of the team. I'm not surprised to hear that. Every time he's debuted or played, I feel like he's played really, really well. He just looks on it. I don't think he presses the same way Rafinha does, which gets a little tricky because you lose that. But but for what you said, with the attacking options we have when they're in form, I really don't fear many teams, especially like 2 goals to us. They could score that in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it already in Copa del Rey.
Exactly. That being said, props to Atleti. Atleti need to win games, and they've found a way to win the game. It is what it is, right? We handed them a red card, right? We handed them that opportunity. Alvarez banged a free kick, which
crazy
fair
good
play.
free kick.
Fair play.
My thoughts on that whole situation is Alvarez crazy free kick. I don't understand. I'm trying to put a neutral hat on here. I don't understand how that can be a red card because the ball's behind Simeone and he doesn't have full control of it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like if Simeone had full control of that ball, credit to him that he was able to somehow get full control of it when the ball is behind him. But like, I was more than okay with seeing, hey, free kick, fair enough, and a yellow card. Like, that to me was the perfect way of doing it. I I honestly, maybe it's a more tough approach to letter of the law. To me, the letter of the law is like you have to have full control of the ball. Like, so what you're telling me is if you're an attacker and I'm a defender, I can't even touch you, even though you don't have the ball. When the ball's played behind you, it's not like the ball's a through ball. It's
Yeah,
literally
it's a good point.
in between us.
Right.
And like, what if I got the ball and I kicked it out? Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It was a tough one for me to understand watching it live, where I was like, I don't get why they're sending him to the screen. Like, whatever. Um, I think in terms of the hand, like the defender putting his hand on the ball, I think that's fine. I don't
I'm
see
just being
any
a jerk
issue with
because
it.
of it.
No, and I am also saying it kind of sarcastically because against Bayern Munich 2 years ago, we had the exact same
Yes.
situation
Yeah.
arise with Raya and Gabrielle. So for that reason, I'm always on the side of that shouldn't be a PK or shouldn't be a foul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think we have to, if Barcelona loses, big if,
Yeah.
we have to start the conversation. Is Yamin Yamal just Kylian Mbappe without the ego?
No, that's a horrible conversation to have. Anyway,
No, no,
uh,
it Ethan, it might be
how will it
time.
be?
Both
He's
perform
18.
extremely hold on. Both perform extremely well for their country, have lifted numerous trophies for their country, right? Both at league play at the club level have won their club titles, like at the league level, win so many cups, can't seem to get it over the line in the Champions League with their clubs. And that's the one thing really that they're chasing.
Here's when you can have the conversation.
Both
When
both
in like
both have
3 years,
both have had extremely good teams too to help do that.
you
PSG when Mbappe was there was crazy good, could never figure it out Champions League wise. Barcelona right now is going through their own personal remontada. They have one of the best strikers of all time, a guy who got shafted out of the Ballon d'Or on the left wing because his club didn't want to pay money to Leeds on there. They have the best midfielder in the world, I've heard. They have the Dutch national team captain. They have the most underrated
I think
center
Van
back.
Dyke is. It's
In
not
my
Frankie.
head, it's Frankie De Jong because Van Dyke cheated on his wife with a prosy when he was at Celtic. Um,
Okay.
you have the best underrated center back in the world, and then the Spanish team's number one goalkeeper in net. Like that
He's
to
the
me
number
is
3 right now.
he's gonna be the number one by the time the World Cup comes up. I'm shocked. I'd be shocked if Unai Simon. I think he's the most overrated goaltender in the whole world, Unai Simon.
Wow.
Um, like right now, not all time. Like 5 years ago, he was great, but right
Wait,
now, you're
Loki.
telling me
Wait,
he's the best Spanish center back or
no,
Spanish
but
goalkeeper.
no, but I think at the national team level, it's the same thing with Neuer. Although Neuer hasn't dropped his level, no one's really challenged him. But it's like Unai Simon has given no reason for himself to be dropped.
But when you got João Garcia or Juan Garcia there, and then also David Raya, like breathing down your neck. I personally don't think David Raya should be the number one keeper. I think it should be Garcia.
Thank you.
But I'm just saying, like, when you have those two guys performing at such a high level, and then Unai Simon, who's willowing away on a mid-table La Liga club, I don't know about you, Ethan. I'm choosing the guy who's leading his team in La Liga to the La
Yeah,
Liga title in the quarterfinals of the Champions League as my number one goalkeeper. That's me personally.
I
De La Fuente
also
can do what he wants to do. I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe like there's blackmail on him that Unai Simon has, but me personally, I'm a man of integrity and I would
Wow.
choose Garcia.
First off, love to hear that. I agree. That was very long-winded. You started talking about Lamina's killing Mbappe, which was horrific. Yeah, I don't even know where to answer any of that. So I'm just gonna say we'll remontada next week, win the Champions League this year, and then or when Arsenal bottle the Prem, we're gonna have to have conversations. Um, I will say the one point you made that I actually really loved. It is a good point about like Dogso, right? Denial of obvious goal scoring opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even consider the fact like yeah, Simeone didn't even really have the ball. So that's
No.
something, and that's I'm going back to being biased. I was trying to be unbiased. I was like, you know what, it's a foul, whatever, move on with it. No, fuck that. Yeah, it should not have been a red. Fuck them. let's move into the next game because we have an awesome interview. I want to make sure we get to it. PSG beat Liverpool 2-0. Liverpool ass, man. Liverpool just ass. PSG ran all over him. I don't know.
Yeah,
Kavic is so good.
I thought it was going to be so much better for Liverpool in this. I think the players, we discussed it on the previous episode. I just think the players are bought completely out of slot, and I think they're just ready to go on vacation.
Also, dude, Dembele just does the same shit. He is the worst Ballon d'Or winner of all time. He does the same fucking shit he did at Barca, where someone will do 95% of the work, rolls him the ball. I think there was 2 opportunities I saw in the highlights. Rolls him the ball, and all he has to do is like tuck it to a corner. And dude just rolls it to the goalkeeper. He passes it to him. He did it at Barca against Liverpool. Messi did all this work, gets the ball and rolls it to Dembele, and Dembele just hits it to, I guess it was Alisson. I'm not angry. I'm getting worked up talking about it, but yeah, Dembele's so ass. Not ass. He's a good player, but you know what I mean. So overrated. If we did underrated, let's talk about overrated. Dembele's so overrated, but
not as overrated as Unai Simon.
I could probably make an argument against that, but I'm going to keep it pushing. Kvaratskhelia, that man needs to start every single week. He is probably top 3.
You know the rumor with him, right?
Which is?
His agents and Arsenal reps have been in contact.
Oh my God. Okay, great. Thank you, Pucc.
No, I love him. He's so good. The
rumor with him.
Huh?
I think I was making fun of you. Go on.
Oh. I didn't realize I sounded like one of the Muppets.
It's just my voice I use.
Okay. Now I do think like he is such a phenomenal winger. He does really. I lost my train of thought. I'm gonna be honest. The voice threw me off.
Got him. I just rattled Pucc. I think that's a good spot for us to move on. Obviously, we'll see next week how this all finishes. Should have some decent ties. I mean, Bayern Madrid is certainly not done. It's 2-1. Sporting Arsenal's 1. Like all these games are.
I think all are still in play, except probably PSG Liverpool. For being,
it's kind of crazy that that's the one that's the least in play, but. Let's move in to our interview here with James Murphy. Super fun time with James. Away we go. Alrighty, guys. We are very excited. Our 3rd pro. Definitely not our last, but definitely not least. We'll have some others coming too. And arguably maybe one of the best ones. Only one that I think is a debut over in Europe so far. So definitely someone we're excited about. You guys probably have heard of him. We've mentioned him before. James Murphy, brother of John. We're going to get all the Murphy brothers here. Welcome to the pod, James.
Thank you, boys. Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me, and I'm excited to be here and beat the shit a little bit. Oops, sorry, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah,
you could say anything.
Yeah, cool. Shit. I was gonna say okay.
What's your favorite curse word?
Guess shit. That's the one that came out right away, huh?
Fair enough.
It came out way too loose, but yeah, good to be here, boys. Thanks for having me.
It's always bad when shit comes out too loose. You know what I mean? But that being said, this one's already off to a belter. I love it. That being said, James, this is the biggest pod you've been on so far in your career?
To be honest, I've only been on maybe 2 or 3. One of my old teammates hosted one.
Okay.
It's growing pretty much. He retired a couple years ago and is kind of gone full time in the media content building. One of which is his podcast. So I've been on his once, and then you guys might be familiar with this guy, Matt Sheldon.
It sounds familiar.
He's got a big social media soccer page called Become Elite, which is
yes.
He's run for years with podcasts and like skills training and stuff. So I was on his team in Detroit City for 1 year, and I did his podcast that year. So I guess that one was pretty big, but this one's 3rd in line. It's right there.
There we go. Hey, listen, you could have just said yes. You didn't have to bury us there. That's totally good. No problem.
I was giving a little shout out to a couple of teammates, right? This one's going to be the biggest, and I got to expand the brand.
There we go.
That's true.
Fair enough. I remember just talking about Become Elite. I remember following that guy like when I was in high school. So now we're talking 10 years ago, and watching the videos. And I'm like, if I do exactly what he does, I will go pro. Now I'm on a podcast talking to someone who's also on it. But first off, what was it like playing with him? Was he just always doing content, or was he actually all about ball?
It was mostly ball first. The content kind of was just filtered in here and there, but definitely a lot less so than I thought. I think when I saw him, I didn't know him at all, so I expected just to be a camera in your face 24/7. But no, it wasn't like that. He filtered the content in and out, but no, he was a good guy. He definitely put the game first, and then the content came second. But he also just retired, so
nice.
I guess it's all on the content now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hey, it's definitely a way. Maybe one day, I don't know when you'll retire. You still got a lot of life in the legs. Maybe
Hopefully.
maybe we'll get a Murphy podcast, the Murphy Bros, and you guys
You
can
know,
just talk ball.
you never know. My mom's been saying that for years. She thinks we'd have something there, but probably end up turning into an argument or a fight. So we
It
spare
it,
everyone out there.
it
That's
might.
good podcasting.
That is good
I know that is
podcasting.
true. That is
That's
true.
good podcasting.
That's content.
There you
Yeah.
go. I know. I was telling John, and we'll obviously get into your guys' background a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was telling John. I remember when I was growing up. There was one time I came over to the backyard, and your dad popped out, and I don't know. We were just like playing pickup. Right? It was like 4 of us, right? And you just stepped out with us, and it was, I don't know. It was me, John, a couple of the other guys,
Mhm.
and I think like you two went into a 50-50, and your dad walked outside and was like, what the hell is that? He's like, again, and I watched you two like go like as if Champions League final trying to break each other's legs.
Yeah.
And I just at that moment realized it's just a different breed. Like I was like, wow. And then John was telling us apparently that was a game you guys played. That was just fun.
Yeah. I think this is when we joke about all the time in the backyard. It was just we'd put the ball somewhere in the middle of the yard, and then we'd start on opposite ends, and it was kind of just like a who could get there first challenge, which turned into like who could like take the other person out first and see if the ball's still there. But yeah, that was one of the multiple, I guess you could call it, dangerous looking back games that we put ourselves through. But
Character
I mean,
building.
yeah, that's it. That's where everything started, man. I don't think I would take anything back from then.
100%. It was definitely crazy. I got to feel bad for Owen. I just
know,
know.
he came up a little bit softer, but I'll tell you what, when we threw him back there with I don't know, we used to get 8, 10, 12,
Yep.
however many people back there. Throw him in with some of the big guys. He's got to learn one way or another.
Yeah, 100%. It's probably what made him tough. And we're going to have to get O on here eventually. He's now, I think, working with PDA, right? He's coaching.
Yeah, he's doing some coaching with PDA. He's doing some coaching at Montclair State, which he
Okay.
graduated from last spring. So yeah, he's full on in the coaching game right now, picking up as much experience as possible and stuff.
Real quick, James, what is he
Yeah.
coaching at Montclair State? Is he doing club soccer or no?
No, so he's actually he's an assistant on their men's soccer team now.
Okay.
So he graduated, I guess he graduated 2 springs ago, actually, and then joined the coaching staff as like a volunteer assistant in his first
Mhm.
year out, and then he's became a full-time assistant this past, I guess, in the winter, really. He's being put on as a full-time
Mhm.
assistant, and then meanwhile at PDA, he's been an assistant with all of the MLS Next programs
Nice.
up there. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
he's full on in the coaching right now. He's really bought into it. It's pretty cool, actually. He threw himself
Yeah,
at it, and
that's
he's seeming to pick it up really nicely. So it'll be cool watching him kind of get into his little coaching habits and stuff and see where he goes with it.
that's great. Maybe one day he'll be coaching you. You guys will be
No
on the-
kidding. No, I tell him if he keeps climbing the college ranks, as soon as I retire, I'm putting my resume in to be on his staff.
There you go. Pucc always jokes.
Easy transition.
Pucc always jokes that he'll be my set piece coach one day.
Yeah.
Long-term goal for me is to be a sporting director. He's like, Ethan, I know at some point you're just going to make yourself the manager because you're going to get pissed off. And he's like, all I ask is you just make me your set piece coach.
Yeah,
So-
man. Well, if Pucc is watching Arsenal every week, then he's getting
I know.
the experience
Yeah.
doing it.
I
Setting himself
watched.
in the right direction.
I know. I've been taking notes. I know exactly
But-
what works and what doesn't. Set
You sure do.
Because that's the only excitement I get from those games.
100%. Yeah.
No
Arsenal are a
kidding.
tough one. I mean,
No kidding. I took a set piece Premier League title at this rate, though. You know what I'm saying, Ethan? I've got to take
Don't-
it somehow.
don't give him that,
Yeah.
James. We don't give
I
him that.
know.
Don't give
I know.
don't give him that. He's getting
It's tough
Arsenal
to
brain.
admit. It's tough to admit, but I tell you what, the way we've been going, I would take it. United supporter
Mhm.
myself.
See?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listen, we can't give it to that. It's like haram
I
ball.
know.
It's haram ball.
I agree. I do agree.
Fair enough.
Worst team to win a title if it goes that far.
Pooch, you okay with that?
Listen, we've connected on the Seton Hall aspect of both of our lives, so I'll let that one pass. But the next one I may have to clap back.
Yeah, well, I look forward to it.
Let's go. Pooch and Murph 50-50 on the pod. But,
Yeah.
let's get into it here a little bit. Talking about background here. For those that don't know James, he also was born and raised Scotch Plains, New Jersey. James, what year did you graduate high school? Or I guess would have. You were 2016?
Yeah, 2016 I would have been, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mentioned it again. I talked about it on John's podcast. We talked a lot about the Scotch Plains fan with high school soccer
Sure,
versus
sure.
Westfield. I told him about the goal. I was like, I remember my dad took me. I don't know. Was that your freshman year of high school?
That was my sophomore year of high school. Yeah, sophomore year.
Yeah, so I got to hear it from the man himself, right? For those that don't
Yeah.
know, Union County Final, Scotch Plains versus Westfield. Also, by the way, real quick, something I'm going to mention earlier in the show. We have gotten a spike in Vietnamese listeners, like from the country. I don't know why. So they may not know Scotch Plains. Scotch Plains Westfield is like El Clasico in the United States.
Yeah.
So James Murphy, sophomore, steps up. What was it, extra time or just late in game? It was extra time, yeah?
Yeah, it was extra time, which back in high school day, that was golden goal all the time. So golden goal rule was in effect.
Yes, sir. He bangs a free kick, wins. Scotch Plains beats Westfield, and obviously it just goes down in history. YouTube video now has over 1 million views, the whole thing. 12-year-old Ethan probably, we call it winning the poo here on the show. It's instead of taking your shirt off, you take your pants off. I probably lost my mind, but I got to hear it from your perspective. I mean, obviously, hometown, it's kind of thing made of dreams, right? What was that like, hitting that free kick and being part of that team and feeling that pride for your town?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I guess, like, kind of, obviously, and anyone that does know, like, the Scotch Plains family and the area and the high school specifically, I mean, it's a big soccer community to begin with. So, like, some of my earliest soccer memories were going to, Raiders
Yeah.
games back in the day. I could think back to, you know, when I was really young in the early 2000s and stuff, late 90s. My dad was one of the volunteer assistants from time to time and stuff like that. I've obviously known Coach Brzezinski, rest in peace to him,
Yep.
for my entire life, really, and stuff. So, yeah, some of my earliest memories were going to Scotch Plains Westfield, Union County championship games and stuff like that. So it was always like kind of one of my first dreams was to play for the men's varsity team. And luckily enough, I did it in my freshman year with an unbelievable group of not only players but guys, some of which are still my best friends to this day. Guys who played Division 1 and at other professional clubs all over the place. Your Andrew Leichner's, Colin Striplings, guys like that, Christian Zandali. These are Michael Walsh, I can name a bunch who played Division 1 and like I said, some of the professional ranks. So I played for them, and I got my first taste of the county championship when we had won it that first year, my freshman year, where we beat Elizabeth in the semifinal and actually Governor of Livingston in the final. So that was kind of my first taste, and then my second year is when a lot of those guys kind of had already moved on into college. So they were seniors in my freshman year, and then majority of them had moved on. So his sophomore year, it was kind of like a what if I was going to actually come back and play because of the whole, academy soccer thing and all that
Right.
with PDA and everything. And there was all this different stuff. And I ended up coming back to play because, like I said, it was kind of so important for me to play for Scotch
sure.
Plains, or SBF and stuff. And so I came back that second year, and I was having a pretty good personal year. The team was having a good year and stuff when we came back. And I don't think we had beat Westfield, though, that year. So I know we had lost them in golden goal at home in the regular season. And then we had tied them at Westfield in the second game.
Okay.
And so we hadn't beaten them that year. I didn't score against them in either of my first 2 years and stuff. And so, yeah, I just remember even earlier in that game when it finally came to that semifinal game, they were beating us 1-0, and it just felt like we were almost never going to score. And then in the second half, I think we ended up scoring off a free kick or something like that. And then it gets to that point in golden goal. And it's so funny because, like, the thing I almost remember more clearly than the goal was, like, right in the first half of golden goal, Westfield had gone into an attack or whatever happened, and they had played like a cross or a cutback that I never saw it, and it hit me in the knee and ended up hitting our own crossbar.
Oh my God.
And I my life flashed before my eyes at that point. And then, literally it must have been like 3 or 4 minutes later where we came down the field, win a free kick that if you watch it was probably supposed to be a penalty inside the box.
It probably
And
was.
got given as a penalty or a free kick, got given as a red card. And next thing you know, the backup goalie comes in and stuff like that. And yeah, I guess from there, it just kind of was, the easy part really was the free kick, like the whole getting there and stuff. And the moment itself was really cool. But, the free kick is kind of the stuff I work on and stuff. So, but once I scored that and stuff, the feeling, I mean, I still to this day, I tell people about it, talking about it. And just, it was probably one of my best soccer memories of my entire life, which, I've got a fair few to be, looking back over the course of, my upbringing and my career and everything like that, but that easily ranks up there with one of the best moments of my, soccer playing life for sure.
For sure. It's one of my favorite moments. I still talk about it. Just random
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an awesome moment, and it's always it's always a great moment anytime we could get that against Westfield, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
having that, and yeah. So why is it the best goal of your career?
Well, first of all, because I haven't scored that many, but
Okay.
yeah, no, it was. I guess back then, to be honest, I scored a good fair few that season as a sophomore year in high school. I mean, that was across my whole life probably like my best goal scoring season. But yeah, honestly, if I look, it's probably pretty far up there in
Yeah.
terms of the goals I can remember from back in the day. And I've only had a handful, really, a couple in my professional career. So when I
Yeah.
look back at all of them, it is definitely up there. Has a chance at being number one for sure.
There you go. And I remember when we were talking to John, again, we kind of brought up this memory. We talked about his year, right? He came back
Hmm.
for 1 year and he
Yeah,
had an incredible year. Obviously, didn't end the way everyone
they're
wanted,
done.
but,
Yeah,
and just like, you see it a lot, I think, when it comes to like college football and things like that. It's like just the passion of playing for your team, right? There's no money involved. There's no
yeah,
like, you only have one team you could play for, and that's your town. And being able to put the shirt on. And obviously, again, a town like Scotch Plains, again, for our Vietnamese listeners who are sitting somewhere in Vietnam listening, Scotch Plains is like a really big soccer hub and like just legends that have come through the program, guys. So like when you put on the shirt, right? Obviously, it means something. And
yeah,
obviously, you have, John has. We spoke to Janara Niagara last week. Like a couple of guys
yeah.
have kind of bounced around a bit. And of course, I'm sure every time you put on any of these team shirts, there's a sense of pride. But like just something about putting on that high school jersey. Like this is your town. This is where you are. Like no one will ever be able to take Scotch Plains family away from you. So it must have been such an awesome experience. And I can't even imagine. It must be so cool to look back on it.
Yeah, I mean, easily. It's some of the best memories that I have playing in my whole life is looking back at high school soccer. Like I said, playing with, some of your best friends and stuff from growing up. And like, as you would know, I mean, some of our games we were playing in front of hundreds, and I've played a couple of high school games in front of a couple thousand people, and,
Yep.
thinking about playing St. Benedict's and stuff
Yeah.
like that my freshman year. Thinking about some of the games against Westfield or, some of our state semifinals or whatever it may be. I could think of playing easily over 1,000,
Yeah.
2,000 people and stuff like that. So just the fact that it meant so much to the town, I think, and some of the
Hmm.
people in it, and everything that Coach Brez had put into the program and soccer and Scotch Plains and stuff like that. Like it really was such a big event to play for the high school team, I mean, it was the biggest sport in really the town is
Yeah.
soccer, and
Football sucked.
we'd get the most people out of all the sports, and we were the most successful, and so there was a real like meaning behind playing for Scotch Plains for sure, and we played real good competition in the areas around us, so it
Yeah.
was tough too. It was never easy, so there's definitely a lot of pride, playing in front of my parents and family all the time, and my friends who I grew up with, and kids that I went to school with. It was some of the coolest times of my life for sure.
For sure, for sure. And so transition. So you did play your academy years, obviously, with PDA. I think the Murphy boys have probably funded, but also provided so much to
Yeah,
PDA as a program as well, right? Three boys going through it,
sure.
dad working there. But during that time with PDA as well, and I actually, funny enough, why I know this, and as we were doing a little research, I put down some notes. But something I remember is I think you actually got interviewed in my mom's classroom, Mrs.
Yeah,
Cohen,
yeah.
Infotech, and I think like 2015, maybe a little bit earlier, because you
Earlier,
went to go
yeah.
represent the U.S. World Cup. What was that like? We
Yeah.
were talking about pride on putting on a jersey. What was it like to like represent the U.S. at a youth national team level? Some of the guys you played with. Tell us about those experiences.
Yeah, I mean, that was all that honestly was the whole what kind of ended my high school playing career, really. So, like, after my sophomore year, I'd gone back to playing academy at PDA in the spring once the high school season finished, and was playing pretty well at the academy level with my team PDA, who, I started playing for PDA when I was just 8 years old. I mean, my dad had coached there for years and stuff, and, like, PDA to me is like my boyhood club, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I played there my whole life. I love that place with everything. It means the world to me back there. So I started playing there, and then, come through the ranks through, 11, 12, up through my teenage years playing academy and stuff. And so that year, my sophomore year, I started playing uh, with the under 16s, a little bit with the under 18s and stuff in the academy. Just started playing well, and I guess my game was improving. I mean, I just had a really good year in the high school soccer landscape too.
Right.
So I started kind of getting called into the national team a little bit, first for like some ID camps, and then eventually kind of made my way into the under 18, kind of national team pool. I was going on different trips kind of every 10 weeks or so, playing in some tournaments and stuff like that. And for me at the time, that was like a huge, huge dream of mine. I mean,
Of
I'd gotten
course.
kind of my first little taste of like youth national team stuff as like in U15 when they kind of do their first ever like player ID pool kind
Yeah,
of thing, you know. And then from there, I was kind of always on the outskirts or in and out, and I would see some of the other guys going in and out, and I would just think it was the coolest thing, and always looked up to some of those guys who were in the youth national team and stuff. And then so when it came around at like 16 for me to start getting called in and playing regularly, I really kind of, you know, took a lot of pride in that, and it meant the world
of
to me to get
course.
called in. But that's also when I kind of had to make a decision to play, you know, more full time with
Right.
PDA and stuff, trying to get in a more competitive environment all the time. I was starting to think about maybe some overseas trials and this, that, and the other. So that's definitely when I think, you know, the soccer side of my life took a more serious turn. I mean, I
Sure.
always took it very serious. I always worked extremely hard at it with kind of the goals to make it as far as I can go. But, you know, once I start getting around, so like some of the guys you mentioned, you know, are full-time national players, team players today, where it's Christian Pulisic I'd spent some time playing with, and
Awesome.
Weston McKennie a little bit back in the day. Your Miles Robinsons was,
Yeah.
you know, a longtime national teammate of mine. And even more really, I could go through a whole bunch that even today are playing a part on a national team. So once I got in around those guys who even then, like some of them were professionals, some of them were maybe at my point still in the academy, some of them were in college going into freshman years and stuff. So it was a big mixed bag, but you could see all the talent and different guys talking about their pro ideas or pro plans and whatnot. So that's when it kind of
Yep.
took a more serious turn for me and kind of like changed my thought process towards like, no, like I want to be a pro or like how soon can I try and be a pro kind of deal. And so I kept playing at PDA. I would go on some tryouts here and there. And so kind of like circling back to the question, is like PDA is really kind of what built me, what developed me a little bit and gave me really all the opportunities in the world to go on and get these youth national team opportunities and get some of those kind of professional tryouts and ended up getting at a younger age. And all of these different experiences that, you know, I look back on, which and can be pretty proud of and, you know, look back and say, yeah, it's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It's got to be super cool. I mean, you mentioned some of the names, right? Especially seeing them out on the world stage, about to host the World
Yeah.
Cup, like Pulisic, McKinney, maybe the two best players on the roster right now. Maybe you can make an
Yeah.
argument for Richards above one of them, but like Captain America. You mentioned Miles Robinson and just some of those
Yeah.
guys, right? It must have
Yeah.
been cool. Yeah, go on.
As even a guy like, was funny because like Anthony Robinson or,
Right.
you know, Jedi Robinson, like him and we were roommates in his first ever US youth
Insane.
national team camp. Like he was just like this, you know, British guy who was playing in Everton's youth team at the time who
Yeah.
like never been to a US camp or anything in his life and got called in because the US like foundation found out
Right.
he had American parents or whatever it may be. And so like, I just remember him coming in and then being a little bit in and out from then. And then kind of like in an 18-month span, started taking off playing for his club
Right.
team. I think he was maybe at Bolton at the time or something like that. Next thing you know,
Hmm.
he gets his move to Fulham and stuff. And it's like, you know, like I said, he's one of the best players on our national team these days too. And it was, you know, I guess 10 years ago now, 11 years ago, where
Yeah.
he just, you know, rocked up to Spain and was like, "Hey, what's up? We're roommates," you know, which is pretty funny. So like,
It
yeah, I
is.
definitely look at that and see some of the players and the careers they've had and stuff like they're having currently and everything. And it's like, yeah, and look back on some of our memories and see how cool it is.
For sure. It's definitely, I mean, it must be a whirlwind, like you said, just seeing them now and
Yeah.
being, like you said, like Anthony Robinson to you was like you probably went home, you're like, Mom, there's just like weird British, he's kind of British dude, like sitting in here. I think he's at the wrong camp, you know, and now you're seeing him rock up and you're like, fair enough, man. Yeah. And I'm assuming these guys were ballers back
100%.
then. Could you tell at the
Yeah.
moment you were like, these are a level above me, same level, you know, or no, was this kind of like a surprise?
I think I don't know. It's all kind of general. I think at that point, you know, like
Yeah.
there's definitely some players where it's like almost back then you're like, wow, this guy's unbelievable, and some who like back then you maybe wouldn't have thought so high of, who then go on to have the even better careers. But you know, like in the
Who was
game,
one of those? Why don't you drop a
and
name?
for I'm trying to think back then. Well, I think actually Miles is probably a great example of
Okay.
that because, you know, I even played Miles as far back as like PJ Academy days. He was a member of the
Yeah.
Boston Bolts. And I like the Boston Bolts were a good academy, but they were never great. And even growing up and stuff, like I knew playing against Miles, he was a good player and stuff like that. But even back then, he wasn't involved in too many youth national team setups or anything like that. He was just kind of a good academy player, great athlete, good with his
Yeah,
feet, the whole nine. But was committed to Syracuse and everything. Like he wasn't turning pro straight out of high school, none of those deals. But then he got to Syracuse, really, really like looked the part in the college game,
hmm
showed how good he can be. Excuse me. Next, enters the draft, goes through that whole process, starts getting brought into the national team while he's at Syracuse, gets drafted really high and stuff like that. Ends up just going from strength to strength at Atlanta. But
yeah,
back when you're like 16, 17, 18,
right.
I don't think many would have said, yeah, Miles Robinson's going to be, top center back for the national team, but he's gone and proven himself at every level
Yep.
and is wildly, wildly impressive in the career that he's had and is continuing to have. And hopefully he plays a big part for us this summer.
We'll take it. We'll definitely take it if he does. But
Yeah.
it's definitely in my time just kind of number one, obviously listening to interviews and things like that, but also just now talking to you, John, talking to Gennaro, and next week we'll be talking to MD Myers too.
Oh, very
It
cool.
seems like, yeah, it seems like it's interesting. It's like sometimes it's not always the most talented player in the camp that obviously rises to the top. It's sometimes just the guy that stayed steady the whole way. And you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And all of a sudden, like, it luckily avoided injuries, things like that. And then all of a sudden they're at a pro level and now they can take their game to the next level, right? It's just like almost they continue to mature and maybe they never were at the top, but they were just kind of in the middle, and then eventually they ended up at the top because guys fell off of injuries or just lost, in, whatever it might be, right? So it's definitely cool to hear.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have to think that, there's so many different routes and ways that the game can take you and your career can take you and stuff like that. And like the best player at 17 could still be the best player at 28,
Right.
or he could be retired, or he could
Right.
just be somewhere along the line still playing and stuff like that. So, it's at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to one place. You know what I mean? Like everyone has the same
100%.
dream to play at the highest level possible. Some guys get there later than others. Some guys get there earlier than others and fall off. But it's such a wild world of just kind of footy in general. Never mind the professional game itself. That there's just so many ways you can go about your career and so many places it can take you and so many highs and so many lows and so many in betweens. It's honestly just such a cool kind of circle to be a part of. The guys that I've played with, the guys that I play with now, like I've played with some guys at the U18 national team level who ended up going and playing at different levels in Europe for
Right.
8, 9 years. And then all of a sudden I play against them in the USL this year, or I bumped into them
Right.
in the
Right. Right.
USL last year, like there's just so many different basically worlds within the professional game that it's a pretty cool kind of circle to be in and follow different guys' journeys and stuff like that.
100%. It definitely is there. And yeah, I mean, my journey obviously took me to podcasting at 25 years old. So, I'm obviously kind of reached the top here. So if you need help, let me know. I'm
Yeah.
happy to get you in here.
If depending on your going rate for training sessions, we'll talk about it on the side.
Trust me, it's not that much. I'm sure you can afford it. But yeah, going in here real quick, James. So, and I remember, what was it? You were Gatorade Player of the Year. What year was that?
That was 2014, my sophomore year.
Okay, I remember that. That was pretty cool. And was that national or was that state? I remember
Yeah,
I
that
think
was
it was
that.
national,
So
right?
that ended up being state player of the year. Yeah, and
Okay,
I ended up. I came. I think back then I was like third in the voting for national player of the year. But
okay,
yeah, again, kind of like we touched on earlier, that was just kind of coming off of a really good high school season. I don't think I expected it at first, but then as the season went on, I kind of just went from strength to strength a little bit. I mean, like I said, we
yeah,
had a really strong team. I was putting up some good numbers, which always looks good and stuff like that. And, picking up some of the local awards and stuff. And then funny enough, one night Coach Brez had just called me to let me know that I had won the New Jersey Gatorade Player of the Year, which was honestly a really, really cool
yeah,
award and honor to get. I mean, kind of just showed again what Scotch Plains can be about and stuff like that. Scotch Plains SPF, I should say. I think I was the first person from Scotch Plains to ever win the award, which is
okay,
pretty cool. And I think I was either the first or the second ever sophomore to ever win the award in New Jersey, which is pretty
insane,
cool too. Yeah, so that was definitely a cool year for me back then.
very nice.
Nice,
And
you guys can
then
come here and toot my horn a little bit about all my high school glory, you know?
Listen, man, I mean, I asked you if this is the biggest podcast, right? Like, you tell me right off the rip it's not. You've been on bigger ones, no problem. And then meanwhile, I'm here. I'm just glazing you. I have a
Yeah,
list of
it's true.
glazes.
It's true. If I had said this was the biggest podcast, I wonder how far you would go.
That's good stuff.
Sorry, Pucc, go
James,
ahead.
yeah, no, real quick. So after high school or your senior year of high school, you decided to move to Sheffield Wednesday. Can you kind of tell me why you chose Sheffield Wednesday, and then also at the same time tell me how much you hate MK Dons?
Yeah, so yeah, funny enough, it was just kind of like I kind of mentioned before, like there became a point right around when I was probably like 16, maybe around there, where like becoming a professional or became like, okay, how soon can I become a professional kind of deal, and I had this kind of just like ambition and vision that it was going to be in England, and like I said at the time, I was playing with youth national team and stuff like that. I was doing well for
Mhm.
PDA and the academy. We had a really strong team at PDA, so we were getting a lot of kind of national attention. We had a lot of guys getting recruited very highly and stuff. I myself was getting recruited really well. So like back then, kind of like your name just kind of gained attention and stuff. And it was like colleges recruited you, kind of agents recruited you. Since I was playing for PDA, kind of the different local MLS clubs were kind of recruiting you and stuff like that. So like by the time I was kind of 15, 16, like I was constantly kind of talking to like your Red Bulls. I was playing with Philly Union a lot because they didn't have a full-time academy until like 2016 or 2015 or 2016. So like I was playing with them in like tournaments and stuff like that. And then I just kind of always had this goal of getting to England. It was just
Of
set out. Like
course.
obviously, like the dream was the Premier League, to play in the Premier League and stuff, So like I kind of always just wanted to follow this goal of getting to England. And by the time I was kind of I guess 16, 17, and playing with the youth national team and stuff, I had some agents would speak to me, and I had connections through PDA and some of the great coaches there who would get in touch with different people through the game. And so was able to go on a couple of trials and stuff like that. And I went to some
Mhm.
incredible clubs, again, which were sick experiences, just trying to throw myself out there, going on trials, traveling, staying for a month at a time, 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time. Uh, and Sheffield Wednesday ended up being one of the clubs. And, I'd gone there once. They kind of expressed that they really liked me. One or two other clubs that had also kind of offered me the chance to come and trial. So I went. So Sheffield Wednesday kind of told me that they were going to offer me my first professional contract. I was just getting my Irish passport actually through my,
Yep.
through my family, and they had offered me a contract. I had an opportunity to go on trial at one of their clubs. So I was like, obviously would love to sign, but I have a lot to think about. It's a big move for me. I was also talking to, again, Philadelphia Union, who I'd spent a lot of time with back here. So I left England at that point after spending a couple weeks at Sheffield Wednesday. I went home, did some more playing here at PDA, traveled, kind of waited for my paperwork to finish, and then went back to Sheffield Wednesday in the summer, and decided like I was gonna sign and all that stuff. My paperwork was finished. I ended up signing with them, which was my first professional contract in 2016. Which, yep, right as I was, so I kind of pulled out of high school already and was finishing up my senior year online, and then I signed my first contract, I think, like 3 or 4 days after, uh, going to high school graduation,
That's awesome.
which was crazy, yeah.
That must have been sick. I know John told a similar story about when he went on trial at United. He went on
Yeah.
trial at United, and then like a week later, he was playing Plainfield in Plainfield, and it was
Uh-huh.
like that must be
Uh-huh.
just nuts. College graduate or high school graduation. Everyone's like, "Oh, where are you going? What are you doing?" You're like, "I actually just signed a pro soccer contract. I'm going to Sheffield."
Yeah.
They're like, "Who the fuck is Sheffield?"
Yeah.
That must have been sick. So from Sheffield, right? And this
Mhm.
seems like it's going to be a theme with you as we go on. You then move
Yeah.
back to the US. You end up moving to
Yep.
LAFC, right?
Yeah.
Inaugural season. That's the theme here. That you've opened up a couple of different clubs. I remember when you were in LAFC. Before I even get into LAFC, I do want to share something. Let's see if I could share my screen here. For those listening, this is really good podcasting. I'm sure they can't see, but for those, so I don't know. Can you see this here?
I'm seeing it now, yeah.
So I remember the coolest thing on this planet was that when James Murphy was in FIFA.
Yeah.
FIFA 19. James, let's go over
Uh-huh.
these stats real quick. So they had you at a 52 overall. Was that fair?
Yeah, that was probably fair. They might have been doing me a favor, honestly. I would have
um,
been rated higher my 3 years previous at Sheffield Wednesday, but
yeah, they didn't even put you in the game. They do have you at 62 potential, so I mean, they gave you room to grow.
I'll take
Uh,
that.
we will. Now, this is probably the funniest thing. So I was just scrolling through this, right? We don't need to look. It's a lot of we're not going to go into your stats. We know you're better than this. FIFA doesn't know ball. So you keep going down on this page. Do you have anything to say to this person named Ashley Sanchez who commented, "War a fraud"?
Man.
In May 2023, they commented, "War a fraud." Do you have anything to say to Ashley Sanchez?
Geez, I don't know. Maybe I had a
Charlotte fan, and it looks like whatever the North Carolina female team is
in
fan.
2023, huh? I mean, that was 5 years after I even played for LA, so he must have had some long-standing issues with me.
But
That's hilarious, actually.
that's kind of awesome. I got to say, that's awesome. You got haters out there. If you
I
got
was gonna
haters, I mean,
say, what's that whole saying? Yeah, if you got haters, you're doing something right.
good stuff. Good on you. But I never
Uh,
forget that when James was in FIFA, and I remember like, oh, we got to get his like ultimate team card. First off, and I say this respectfully, James, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to pack him. I don't think I needed to pack you. I think I could
No,
probably
I
launch it
did.
with coins. Did
Yeah,
you?
people are probably paying to get rid of me.
Were you so say you started up and we're getting off topic, but say you started up a career mode with United. Was your first thing like, let me go sign myself? I feel like you got to.
So this is so funny. Like, I never really played much video games, so I was never really playing FIFA, but I was a little bit here and there. But then I think when I got to Sheffield Wednesday, I was like really thinking about it a lot. Like I was like, all right, well, like even though I didn't really play it all that much, like I
Yeah.
didn't even actually have my own like console.
Yeah.
But then I ended up getting an Xbox when I went over to England because there was just a way to kind of keep in touch with my friends and stuff like that. And I really thought I was going to be on it, especially because when I got to Sheffield Wednesday, I made my first team debut just like a month after getting there. So I was like, all right, I signed a pro. I made my debut. Like, this should mean
Yeah.
like I'm on the game, right? But it never happened, even though one of my teammates who also made their debut in the same game, he got on it. I never got on it. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, screw FIFA then. You know what I mean? Who needs FIFA anyways? But then when I got to LA, I still had my console. I wasn't really playing video games at all, though.
Yeah.
But I was like, since I was full time, like I guess since I was signing, like it was the MLS, like there's only so
Right.
many, like it was like it's Sheffield Wednesday. I was in the reserves, then in the first team a little bit, back and forth. Like there's only one first team at LAFC, like one
Right.
roster. So I was like, all right, well, surely, I'll be on this one. So I had it, and I was on the game, but I was on it and then off it like so fast.
Yeah. I
Like
saw that.
I went on loan to Vegas Lights, I think, who was in the
Yes.
USL. And when I did that, I think I was just like banished from FIFA forever, pretty much. So I was off it so fast that I really wasn't even playing it, that
Yeah.
I didn't even do the whole career mode and stuff. And since they didn't even have my picture on it, like that's all I really like. I want to take a picture of myself, like the screen and be
Right.
on FIFA, right? But they didn't have my picture on it. So I think I was kind of like, this is bogus anyways. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think I was almost petty about it that I never even really dove into it that much. But it was definitely cool to see my name up there for, I don't know, a month or two, whatever it ended up being.
100%. It's got to be cool. And this is how we know that and why James made it pro. Because first off, James didn't have a console. I don't know if I've ever not had a console in my life and not known the FIFA ratings. Secondly, is you were like, oh, maybe I'm on it. Who cares? I would have been like emailing EA. I would have been like, you got to
I
get my
know.
pace up.
See,
I would
I
have.
never even thought of like that much of it. I don't know. I definitely we had a console in the house. Like
Okay.
we did have like a PlayStation. I don't know, like maybe a PlayStation 3 or something by the time it came
Sure.
out. Like so we had something in the house. Like I played FIFA with John and Owen like once in a while growing up and
Yeah.
stuff, but I was never like too hooked. I'm like
Right.
Owen was huge on FIFA. Like me and John were never like big into like the video game stuff.
Sure.
But I did think about being on FIFA a lot. Like I always thought that was so cool. Like you kind of talk about like guys I played with the youth national team with and stuff. Like
Yeah.
guys where I was playing with to like sign their homegrown deals and stuff, they were getting on FIFA real quick and stuff like that. So I thought
Right.
that was sick. So it was definitely something that I was like, when I signed my first pro, I was like, all right, well, this is gonna be sick. And
Yeah.
then I didn't get on until like 3 years later, and
Right.
I was only on it for 2 months. So, but no, it was cool for sure.
Well, just know I was at home and I was like, I got to sign James Murphy.
I was
I
gonna
could
say,
not
well, I
play you.
appreciate that. I was gonna say you and my cousins and my brother are maybe the only people that ever actually put me on a roster, never mind in the lineup.
I couldn't play it, but I was like, you know what? We'll bring him to sunny Barcelona. You were on my FC Barcelona career mode of FIFA 19. We won lots of Champions Leagues together.
I was gonna say, I'll tell you what, I'd take that career right now.
There you go. Good stuff. But let's talk about LAFC. So I remember again, right? So you moved to LAFC. This was their inaugural season. I remember, I don't know if maybe it was just because you both had, are you and Walker Zimmerman the same age? I remember you guys were kind of both on the bench around that same time, right?
He's a couple years older than me.
Okay.
Maybe only 2 or 3, but he's a couple years older than me. But yeah, like I was at Sheffield Wednesday. It was going honestly really well. I'd been there for kind of almost all in, like 2.5 years almost at that point. And it was kind of just like I was kind of looking to make the next step in my career. I wasn't sure if it was going to be at Sheffield Wednesday or not. I was talking about staying at Sheffield Wednesday, but really wanted like more first team games kind of deal. Was getting a little frustrated that they hadn't sent me on loan, if I'm getting into like details. And then like all in the same week, my agent had randomly called me and he's like, LAFC is reached out to me. And I was like, what? And like, I didn't even really know much about them. Like I wasn't following the MLS too closely. Like I was so locked in on like Europe and stuff. And I like immediately looked it up and like saw the expansion team. Like I knew like about the Carlos Vela and the Will Ferrell and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't know too much about it, to be honest. And so like he called me and he's like, look, they're interested again. At the time, like I'd still been playing with like the under 20 national team a little bit before they had gone to the World Cup, which I didn't end up going to, but was still like in and out of a couple camps. Like I've known Bob Bradley a little bit because of the New Jersey ties and kind of my dad growing up in soccer and stuff. One of their assistant coaches, again, was the guy that wanted me at Philly a few years back. He was on their staff back then. Like it seemed, pretty real and everything. They called my agent. They'd, made the effort to come and reach out to me to bring me there and all that. So I was like, I was a little bit skeptical because I was in England. I didn't really want to leave England, but the opportunity just kind of seemed too good to be true. So I ended up packing up and like within 36 hours was from Sheffield, England to Los Angeles.
That's sick. So was that, were you out of contract at that point or was that an official transfer?
No, yeah, it was an official transfer technically.
How much they transfer for you? How much you worth?
I think it was like 50K or something. Like it was basically just
That's
like
something. That's something.
It was basically just like compensation to Sheffield Wednesday for like my last 2 years of training. Really, it was something like that. I think like Sheffield Wednesday, like playing hardball, asked for like 150 at one point, and then they came back with like, yeah, we'll give you like 50 and a bag of fucking chips.
Yeah, you can at Spurs they always joke they're like you could go walk on the dare walk or whatever on the top. It's like we'll throw one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Will Ferrell probably did like a comedy show in Sheffield or something for you. So did you meet Will?
Shebang. I did, yeah, a few times.
Okay.
It was honestly that whole stuff, like some of that stuff. LAFC, on the field, it didn't really pan out to what I was hoping for it to be. I didn't play as much as I wanted. I ended up going on loan and stuff like that. So it didn't really, it was a bit unsuccessful in terms of, the career move I was hoping it was. But some of the off the field experiences were really, really cool. Some of the events I was kind of able to go to because of LAFC and their owners and stuff, getting to meet certain people like Will Ferrell and Magic Johnson and other, big time athletes who are businessmen like Noamar Garcia Parra and who was like a baseball player I knew from being younger. And Mia Hamm was involved and was there a lot. So like some of the people I met and like the things I was able to do because of LAFC was honestly some of the coolest things of my life. It just, it was one of those things. I made the move. I actually got a pretty bad injury when I first got there and then never really settled in, never really got to my best game and never really got probably enough opportunity to really get to my best game. And then, that just didn't really work out on the field, but the year itself and some of the experiences were some of the coolest things that I got to experience in my career.
For sure. I'm sure like opening up a club, right? An inaugural club. And like you said, the names around, and you're in LA, right? You're not in, I'm trying to think of a city that no one on the podcast has played in. I was about to say Knoxville, but someone we know is playing in Knoxville. Nothing against Knoxville. Knoxville seems to be like a nice city, but it must have been sick. So then you go out on loan over to Vegas. So Gennaro just finished over in Vegas.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on Vegas? He said he enjoyed it. It was a good time out there, but what are your thoughts on Vegas? How was your experience there going on loan?
Gennaro played for a very different Las Vegas than me. Let's put it that way. No,
Uh-oh.
they were in like their first or second season when I got
Okay.
there on loan too, and they're definitely very less established at the time. And even I mean, this is going back almost 10 years now. So like even the USL itself
Yep.
was much less established at the time, I would say. And I would just say it wasn't the best experience for me. I mean,
Fair enough.
I was still only 20. So
Yeah.
I didn't really even get the best of Las Vegas, if you
Right. You
know what
couldn't
I
even go
mean.
out.
Yeah, I didn't get the casinos or the good stuff. But no, it was all right. Honestly, it was good because I played, I think, somewhere between something like 8 or 10 games I played for them, and
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I needed games so bad.
Sure.
I'd left Sheffield Wednesday where I was at least, playing reserve games week to week. I was, training with the first team, getting all that experience there. And I came to LAFC, and even though I was training with some, top players and stuff, like I was 20 years old and I needed games.
Yeah.
LAFC didn't have a reserve team, they didn't have a second team. So there was nowhere for me to really get those games and mature in that sense as a player. So I went to Las Vegas, and even though, there was plenty of, kind of stories to tell about that experience, let's say, I got, kind of 8 or 10 games against real like grown men and stuff like that, which is
Right.
something I really, really needed at the time. So it was valuable in that sense. It was just every experience I've had is different. There's greats and there's
There's the PR.
stories to everything. You know what I
There's
mean?
the
Yeah, there you go.
PR.
But
There's the
no,
PR.
don't worry. I'm not too worried about Vegas the next couple of years. I'm settled down with the fiance now. I think I can stay away from Vegas.
There you go. There
But
you go.
yeah, but it was a valuable experience for the career and for kind of growing up a little bit and getting, a few games before that season ended,
Yep.
and then it gave me my first taste of the USL too, which obviously has gone on to play a huge part of my career. So I can always look back at those Vegas days and definitely say that, and look at where I'm at now and laugh about it a little bit, but also appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. That's a very wholesome way to put it.
Yeah.
You probably missed it. I know you're obviously a huge fan of the pod. You've been listening to every episode. We do
The
something called
last
bracket.
couple for sure.
Okay, all right.
I
Have you?
got
Are you?
I got to support the boys a little bit.
There you go. Have you been in Vietnam recently? Because somehow we are getting spikes. I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from because they don't leave comments. The Vietnamese don't
Ethan,
leave comments.
Not
Ethan, I'm gonna
from
be on. Yeah, it's a lot of Southeastern Asia too, not just
That's true.
Vietnam.
That's
I
true.
think I saw Myanmar in there.
Okay.
when
Myanmar
you
was
sent
on
the
there.
screenshot.
James, I wish we were lying. After the last episode, me and Pucc, so you're obviously again, right? Our third pro interview. So we're like,
Yeah.
all right, let's take it the numbers. Let's see how we've been doing. Like, obviously, it's more exciting than me and Pucc talking and making fun of Owen the whole time. And it was like 33% of your listeners come from Vietnam. It's like 10% come from Myanmar, and then it's like miscellaneous. The other thing is, so we post our podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Somehow it's getting posted on something called Other. I don't know where they're listening to the podcast. So this is honestly a revelation to all of us. But I was going to say we did something called bracketology. We did some brackets and Owen would put them together. I don't know if you listened to the D-Gen one, but based on what we're hearing in Vegas, maybe we have to add you to that one. Maybe I'll go Maradona. It was Maradona versus Waza versus Rooney in the final. I don't know. Maybe you would have made a run. But
I don't know if I could give those two guys a run for their money, but I would have given it some effort.
Good stuff there. So after the lights, right, you moved over. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it. Arbroath over in Scotland. So back to Europe.
Arbroath, yeah, Arbroath. Yeah, back to Europe. After that kind of year in LA, like I kind of, first of all, I almost didn't know it was hitting me. That was my first time kind of being released and stuff. Like I went from Sheffield Wednesday where I was very secure in my
Transferred.
contract, at least for a couple of years. Yeah, onto LAFC, and then was released at that end of that season. I was a little bit naive, kind of like thinking, well, something else would pop up, like, I had that little bit of that name from the youth national team set up prior to that. Like, I didn't the year at LAFC, even though I didn't really play, like my name wasn't in it and stuff. I had other MLS teams who had been interested in the past. So I was a little bit naive and thinking, something might just kind of happen for me. It obviously didn't. And from there, I kind of was debating like between just showing up for an MLS preseason kind of trial thing or what do I want to do? And I was like, if I'm going to go on trial and stuff somewhere, then I want to go on trial back in the UK again.
Of course.
Like, that was kind of the decision I made. Like, I want to give it another shot out there. That's where kind of my heart was in the first place from before even leaving England to come to LA
Mhm.
and stuff. I ended up going back to Scotland to a club called Dundee,
Yep.
and I spent a good like 6 weeks there for their whole preseason. One thing led to another. Thought I was gonna end up signing there. I didn't work out. So I was kind of like stuck at the very end of preseason with no like club or anything like that. Just kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. And that's when our growth kind of came in. Just someone who was kind of helped me find clubs, got in touch with this coach at our growth. He brought me
Mm.
in to play like one preseason game, played in it. He offered me a contract, and it was, not the prettiest contract I've ever taken. And wasn't the prettiest soccer situation either, but it was like, either do this or keep hunting, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you got something in front of you that you can just they were playing in the Scottish Championship, which
Okay.
in my eyes was a decent level to dive into, and get stuck in kind of thing. I said I'd been at Dundee for like 2 months, and they ended up winning the championship that year, so I knew that, like, if that was the standard, then I could make my way in this
Right.
league kinda deal. I ended up signing for Arbroath, and I spent that next 10 months there until COVID hit, actually, is what really just ended up bringing me back stateside, funny enough.
Right. So then from there, right, we moved to Rio Grande Valley. And then I was going to, no disrespect to Rio Grande, I was going to skip over because I think there's a little bit more history in Monterey Bay. And this is
Yeah.
something that, so Monterey Bay, you end up spending the 2022, and again, you can correct me where I'm wrong. Earlier, I realized you said numbers, and I said, yes, kind of correct you. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm trying to fact check someone about their life because I wrote it down. So you went to Monterey Bay over there. And again, we heard about it from John's side. You guys play against each other when John was
Yeah, yeah,
with,
yeah.
you get a red card in the game. We've heard John, he tried to break up a little bit of the fight afterwards.
Yeah.
What was going through your
Break it
head?
up or ignite it. Yeah, honestly, I was just devastated, to be honest. I was so upset about it.
Yeah,
My parents and my bro Owen and my sister had come across. It was obviously my first time playing against John, and it was kind of like a big game for both of us because we were both
sure.
on not in the best places in the league and stuff. We really needed to win. They could have used a win kind of thing, and
Yeah,
it's like I don't even know if it was 40 minutes in, and
yeah,
I mean, to me, it was never a red card, which makes it even more frustrating. But like I said, I didn't get sent off with still, I don't know, almost 60 minutes to play. My parents are just sitting in the stands. I'm just sitting in the locker room. But, like, looking back and stuff, we can really chuckle about it. But at the time, honestly, I was devastated because I wanted to play in the game so bad, and I took myself out of it. So it was brutal.
yeah. John claims that you claim that it was not a red.
I do claim that, yes. He
Okay,
claims
and
that it was.
I don't, Pooch, do you remember? Did he say like it was a red or I don't?
I think he said he wasn't like facing the play or something like that, so he didn't
Exactly.
see it, or he didn't
I
have a
thought
good
you said
view.
it was weak. I feel like I remember
Okay.
him saying it was a weak red.
We asked from his side because I remember. So I remember again. This was the big Murphy Bros competition. I remember they had it at Derby. I didn't go to Derby because I
Yeah.
did not want to get it. Have to be sitting in a million people. But I remember just kind of watching it at home. And I remember. So you put the tackle, and I'm like, oh shit. You get the red. I see both teams running at you, and the funniest thing to me is John initially goes running at you with his teammates.
Yeah.
And then you see John very quickly realize, oh shit, that's my brother. And this dude, I think he said it was like one of the center backs was trying to rip your head off. He's like, whoa,
Yeah.
chill, chill, chill. He's like in the middle trying to break it up. And then they pan to your father, who the poor guy has his
head in
hands.
hands.
I would have had that picture framed. That would have been Father's Day that year. I'd been like, appreciate you, Dad. But it's honestly a funny piece of the lore. I can't even imagine the
It
feeling
is,
of getting the
yeah.
red. And I think you won the game, so you're good.
Yeah, we did end up winning the game, which was good. I think we were winning 1-0 when I got sent off, and we ended up winning 1 or 2-0, I think. But it was honestly, it was like the biggest dream come true ever. First of all,
Yeah.
obviously, like we kind of joked about the backyard and stuff earlier, but that was kind of where that all started. I mean, we probably said it when we were kids, but who would have actually thought? I think he was maybe 21 or 22, and I was 24, 25 at the time, and to play against each other in front of our parents and stuff, and in front of 4 or 5,000 people, and what's a professional game and everything.
Yeah.
It was one of the obviously one of the coolest experiences of our entire lives. And then the fact that I got the red card, and funny enough, it's the only red card I've ever gotten in my career.
That's
So
actually
it's like
hilarious.
the whole thing about it is pretty funny too. And it's just, I mean, obviously we look back on that day with some pretty good memories, and we can laugh about it now too.
For sure. Well, John said it. He was like, listen, he got the red. He also got the win. So I guess it's kind of an
Yeah,
even there. Fair enough.
take
You could
that.
always say you beat your brother. Maybe you weren't on the field the whole time, but you beat your brother in that game.
100%.
We also talked about, and this is something that we had talked about with John. I asked him, I was like, now there's a bunch of USL teams coming up to like New Jersey. You got
Yeah.
Motown. I think you have Westchester. You have the Cosmos back. He mentioned, he was like, "This is something you guys have talked about teaming up at some point, maybe towards the end of
Yeah.
the career or where it works out." The only problem is, he also told me, he was like, the problem is you both play the same role. He's moved to a little bit
Yeah.
more of a 10. Who's giving up the spot?
Look, I mean, I'm getting old now, man. I'm getting old. So if I could sacrifice a couple of years of my career to be on the same team with him, I'd do it in a second. I think that's always obviously been a far-fetched dream to try
Yeah,
and end up on the same team together. I mean, now that there's teams in New Jersey and stuff like that, and New York area, New York, New Jersey, it makes it feel maybe a little realistic, being that
yeah,
we've both have also been in the league and stuff for a while now. But yeah, look, if the opportunity comes, first of all, I think mm, any team would be lucky to get the two of us on there at the same time. But
there you go.
no, if the opportunity comes, I think it's something we'd have to obviously think about, and it'd have to be right for both of our careers.
For
But I
sure.
think it would be a dream come true, and he's getting better than me by the day, I feel like, anyway. So if he wants to step in, it's probably for the better of the team at that point.
That's the older brother in him. That is so
Yeah.
older brother. John was like, yeah, he was like, well, James probably would take the spot, but like, one of us is going to have to sit. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, bet. All right, competitive. James was like, yeah, you can have the spot.
Nah,
That being said,
leadership.
though, when me and Pooch, so obviously, like, podcast is blowing up. We're doing really well, especially in Southeast Asia, and they're giving us a lot of money, James, like a ton of money. We are thinking about opening up our own USL team. We'll let you pick the city. You could pick it.
Would love
I think
that.
I think we'll bring you in so you could play the 6. Maybe we'll get John in the 8 or the 10. When we get MD
Now we're
Myers next
talking.
week, we'll put him at
Yeah.
striker.
He's the right man for up front, but he could be headed for the big time soon enough. So you might need to buy an MLS club to get him soon.
I'm gonna make sure we like get him a little word tied in the next
Yeah,
episode where
yeah. That's the play.
he gets like a verbal confirmation I could play back. I think we'll get Gennaro maybe at fullback. I will
Yep.
play. I could probably play the 8 if John plays the 10. Okay, Pooch, you got the other fullback. Pooch's his sling is actually off. Shoulder's doing okay.
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
yeah.
And then
What was it? I tore my labrum and dislocated my shoulder like
Okay.
mid-December. So
Was that playing
we're on.
soccer? Was that
Yes,
super
yes,
competitive.
gonna say
Super
wasn't
competitive.
falling off a city bike
it
or something,
was.
was it?
No, it was. We were up 9-3, 3 minutes left, and I was going for a header, and it just popped out, and the labrum went with it. So,
I've done that in both my shoulders, so I feel your
oh,
pain.
but when it pops back in, great feeling.
Yeah, I think it's worse when it goes back in.
Really,
I
every single
sure
time
do.
I've popped mine in, it's perfect.
Pause.
Yes.
above.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Owen,
James, real quick, I do have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of different USL teams. You've been to a lot of places. What is the hardest team in your opinion in the USL to play, and why is it Hartford Athletic?
the laugh
mean, look-
everyone does.
I mean, look, if you look at Hartford in the last couple of years, especially, I mean, last year in particular, they're a challenging team to play home or away. I mean, if you want to go into Hartford specifically, they're super athletic. They're dangerous. We actually play them next week, so it's a good time to ask the
Mhm.
question. No, but no, they're a good team. Honestly, to the credit of the USL these days and stuff, there really is no easy games out there. I mean, top to bottom, East Coast, West Coast, like every game really is a challenge. It's a bit of a dogfight. There's some real good quality and stuff in the league now. So there is no real easy games to kind of go into the question, who's the toughest to play against. If you always look at your Louisvilles and stuff like that, especially, I mean, that's who we play tomorrow night actually at home.
Mhm.
But, getting to, Louisville away in front of 10, 11,000 people, or, Tampa Bay down in front of their crowd on a hot night
Mhm.
and stuff like that, it's a tough place to go. And then you go across to the West Coast, and, your San Antonios have a really good crowd, and Orange counties and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
Detroit, who I was once a player for, they
Yes,
have a
sir.
really tough stadium to go to, and and a crowd that makes it really hostile. So there's some tough places to go in the USL, and there's some really tough teams to play against for many different reasons and stuff. But it's a growing league. It's a tough, challenging league to play in. I think it's getting better and better each year, and there really
Mhm.
is. There's some dangerous teams in that league and in this league, and some real good challenges every week.
For sure, James.
Yeah,
And
and then real quick, what's your favorite away day, like, ever? Do you have one where you're like, "I remember that to a T, like, that was so fun," like, just to be a part of on the field that day?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a good few that I could think of, as a player. I'm trying to think, like one kind of sticks to mind right away. I didn't actually get on the field for the game, so that's why I'm trying to think of maybe another one I was more of a part of. But I was on the bench once for LAFC against San Jose, and we were playing in San
Mm.
Jose, and I think they were beating us like 3-1 or 4-2 with like 6 minutes to play, and we ended up coming back and beating 'em. I think it was 3-1, and we came back and beat them 4-3 and scored 3 goals in, like, a 7, 8-minute period, and
That's
it was one of the
crazy.
craziest it was just one of the craziest games I've ever
Yeah.
been a part of. Um, but, yeah, I guess I guess last year I wouldn't say it was my favorite away day, but or 2 years ago, we beat, Houston Dynamo in a penalty shootout in the Open Cup, which was a pretty
That's
cool one
awesome.
for me. When I was in Monterey, we beat San Jose in the Open Cup, which was a pretty cool one for us also. So those are ones that stick out to me, I would say.
Mhm. I guess you just love putting BTA to San Jose? I mean, you 2 of your 3 favorite away
Yeah,
day
dude,
memories were
I
San
know.
Jose.
Yeah, funny enough, I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. I've played San Jose between Monterey and LAFC. I played against them like 4 or 5 times, and I don't think I've ever lost, which was like a crazy thing to say. Like we used to play them in preseason a lot and stuff, and in Monterey, and we always just gave them a really good game. They might have beaten us once or twice, but that's just a team that I played so many times. Maybe that's why it stuck out in my head too. But that was a really cool way to. I think it was João scored the winner, which is a crazy name, I know, but
yeah,
Yeah.
this left back that was at LAFC with me. He plays in Italy or something now. But he scored the winner, I think, in like the 97th minute. It was pretty nuts.
that
See,
must have been.
if I was a San Jose executive right now and I'm listening to this, because as we know, all the San Jose execs do, I would sign you immediately because I cannot
Yeah.
have a guy who claiming to beat me
I
5
know,
times. Like, I need to have him on my side.
I know. That could come back to bite me, but there goes my final shot at an MLS contract. But
No, if anything, I think it helps you. I think if I'm an executive from San Jose, I'm like, I need him on my
or
team.
or
Like,
anyone
well,
West Coast.
if they're
Any
listening, yeah, anyone West Coast,
who's San Jose's big rival? San Diego, another expansion franchise. There you go.
yeah.
I would take that.
We're exactly. We're trying to get you signed. Don't worry. So if you are from San Diego, we have a player here who is enjoying his time over at Loudoun, but is looking for better weather.
Yeah,
James
yeah.
Murphy
Oh,
here.
no kidding. No kidding.
Let's talk real quick. I'll finish up with some of these clubs that you play for. So you did move to Detroit.
Yeah.
You did move to Indy. 2 programs that, and I think we spoke about it a little bit earlier, that I've noticed, and it's something cool, is similar to like minor league baseball. For some of these cities that don't have pro teams, like you are the pro soccer team. So it must have
Yeah.
been insane for Detroit, I know especially, and then obviously Indy, I think probably one of the more historic clubs. Probably
Yeah.
playing for those with such a passionate fan base versus maybe, like you said, a Monterey who had just started up, right? Or even the Light who had just started up. What was those experiences like?
Yeah, it was different. I mean, it was really enjoyable in different ways. The year in Detroit was, definitely one of my best personal years professionally, one of the best kind of collective team years I'd have with the group professionally and stuff. And it was a really great experience for me. I mean, I think it was maybe their third year in the USL Championship, but they obviously have a long-standing history in amateur soccer and in other professional leagues that they've won and semi-professional leagues that they've a lot of history and so their fan base is pretty deep rooted. So getting to Detroit and playing in front of that fan base every week or every other week, whatever it may be, was very cool. I mean, it was a really, really cool environment to play in. Felt like very real, it was to really feel the difference between playing at home and playing away in that year in Detroit, which was I think just kind of a compliment to their environment and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And now I go there and look forward to playing them as an opponent like last year,
Yeah.
and I will also this year because it's a hostile place to play. It's a place that you want to play, and so you kind of look forward to those games. And then Indy, like you said, it's a really historical team in the championship and somewhere that really, really enjoyed, kind of based on the group of players that I was playing with. One of the best groups of players I think I've played with across my career, definitely in the USL, which is a credit to those guys too and stuff. I think we all kind of felt like we underachieved last year as a group and stuff, which
Hmm.
was tough. But based on kind of the group I played with and playing for that club and for that city was definitely a really cool experience. That again, I really enjoyed my time there.
Awesome. I remember over the past couple years seeing you there. It feels like that's probably where you've maybe stuck the best so far, right? Where it seems like you were doing well. You were in the starting lineups. I saw
Yeah,
you at times captain the team. So
yeah,
good to see. And now you've moved over to Loudoun United, which, funny enough, I think that's where John may have almost started his career
yeah,
in
yeah.
the USL. So, and where are they? They're down in like Virginia, right? The DC area.
Yeah, just a little bit north of DC. Loudoun County is the kind of area that
Gotcha.
it's called, and yeah, kind of just outside DC. Obviously, not too far from back home in Jersey, just kind of a couple hours, a few hours south. And yeah, I've been here since January now, and
Hmm.
be here for the next couple of years, which I'm really, really happy about. Kind of be settled down here with a club
Right.
that's really ambitious and trying to make some strides. I mean, they've found some success in the last couple of years with, especially particularly last year, making the playoffs and putting a really good product out there. And, there's been a lot of changeover and turnover from the group that they had to what we have now, but we've got a really good group. And, I think I've got a really important part to play in this team and stuff. We've been off to a little bit of a slow start in the league so far, but we know that we've got a group that can win a lot of games and a group that can kind of be a threat to anybody. So I'm really, really happy to be here, and I'm excited for my next couple of years down here in Loudoun, and excited to see what we can do this year and kind of further forward.
Without a doubt, we'll definitely have to. We'll be keeping an eye down on Loudon. And so, is it
Appreciate it.
like when you move over to a club that your brother previously played on? Obviously, just a couple
Yeah.
years ago. Is it like when you're in school and you have like a older sibling who had a teacher? You walked in and one of the gaffers, one of the physios, just was like, "Oh my god, another! Can't be
Yeah.
another."
Honestly, there's been so much time between him being here and me
Hmm.
being here that I don't even know how many people they still have working here.
Yeah,
Like you said it, I think it was his first professional club back in
like 22 or
20.
21.
Yeah, no, I think even before that, honestly, maybe like,
Mm-hmm.
what year did you guys graduate high school? 2018?
2018. Yep.
Yeah, so this must have literally been like spring 2019 or like before COVID in 2020 kind of deal. Like his first professional
Yeah.
club after his kind of short time at Clemson. And yeah, it's funny. I'm here now, and I really don't think there's probably too many people that were working there that are still here now. But they do this cool thing, which I think they've adopted from some other clubs in maybe Europe, and I think Tottenham's one that sticks out to me that does it. But this kind of like legacy number thing,
Yep.
where once you kind of make your appearance for the club, you're given your legacy number and whatnot, as recognized as someone who's played for the club before. So it is kind of cool for him and I to both have kind of our name or a footprint in that, if you
Mhm.
will, and stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, even when he was here, it was very early days for this club. So I have a feeling he's probably in one of the first, even 40 or 50, honestly, numbers. And I think mine is somewhere in the mid 300s. So it
Right. Right.
says a lot about kind of like the journey and stuff like that. But it is definitely pretty cool to both have that little bit of our kind of say in this club's history for sure.
That's sick. Yeah, you're gonna have to get that tattooed. Just obviously means so much to you.
Yeah. Maybe the
Get it?
day he gets his number, that dude, I'll get mine.
Hey, that's fair enough. That's good stuff there. And I mean, obviously an awesome career to watch so far, and for you both, right? Just insane. Whether you guys are playing against each other, obviously now finding success, and I think a lot of people think pros, right? And they just think, oh, it's only in Europe. But like you guys have
Yeah.
made careers now where you're playing through your 20s at knock on wood, relatively healthy and like having a
Yeah.
long career. So obviously, best wishes to you both. We're always rooting and
Thank you.
watching. You guys are both part of the pod, but now it's time for some of the harder questions. You told us let it rip, so we're gonna let it rip.
Let it
With
rip.
with Jannar, we went into some religion and politics. We're gonna ask you who'd you vote for. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Don't say that. You're
Tell
gonna
me
piss off.
Gennaro's answer first.
Jannar, I think
he didn't answer.
Gennaro said I think
Uh,
he couldn't vote. He was in Italy at the time or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
actually, yeah, he did say
Classic.
that.
Yeah, there you go. But
It's a good out.
real quick. So we talked a little Seton Hall hoops. I don't even know if we talked on the pod, but obviously the whole
Yeah.
Murphy family are Seton Hall fans. Me and Pucc went to Seton Hall. Owen, we'll adopt you. That's fine. You could be a Seton Hall fan
Yeah.
too. Oh, Bud Clark transferring. I mean, give us your take here on Shaw. What you think for Seton Hall hoops? What's next moves? How you're going to help fund the program? Me and Pucc are working on
Yeah.
NIL.
I know, dude. Me and my brother John were actually just talking about this earlier once we saw the news about
Yeah.
Bud Clark. It's tough, man. I mean, this was such an enjoyable year to watch after kind of what was such a tough year last year. And like we saw ever since kind of 2 years ago, like the first kind of signs of what's to come when we lost kind of the whole team that won the NIT tournament and then had a really crappy year. And then obviously Shaw recruited incredibly this year to get this team together. And they overachieved, I think, with any of us expected, and
Yep.
all of a sudden, everyone seems to be gone again. You know, once you lose Najee, once you lose Bud Clark, you lost Swan Simpkins. Like, you know, who's next?
Yeah.
Really, it feels like now, and it almost just feels like it's just going to be unsustainable. We're either going to have a terrible team or a one-off good team that we can't keep for the next year. So it's tough. I really
I
hope there's solutions out there. I'd contribute to the program if I could. I'm saving up for other things currently, but once I get a little bit more loose cash, it's going straight to the basketball program.
We appreciate that. We will definitely. Me and Pooch are working on NIL because we
Okay.
as alumni, and they keep calling us, and I keep just giving them your number. John's number. Jannard
Yeah,
does
yeah, yeah.
not from Seton Hall, but we're going to start throwing it to you guys.
My dad ignores their calls, so it's gonna be tough for them to get to us.
That's great. Thank you,
I
Mr. Murphy.
I also hate the fact that Bud Clark, it's like just the loyalty aspect. Like he came from D2
No,
Merrimack, and it's like you're
I
sitting
really
there and you're
thought
like,
he was gonna
Shaw
be the
gave
one
him a
that
shot.
sticks. And no, I
Yeah,
really thought he was gonna
exactly.
be the one that sticks. But when you have such a good year and then the money on the table, like you read numbers like he's asking for what our whole entire NIL
Yeah,
budget is. Like, like we don't have
And
3 million to give,
not yet.
and and you're like sitting there too,
right?
and you're like, you're 5'8", like point guard, gonna be a
Right.
senior. Like I don't know a lot of a lot of teams
Dude,
at
I
the
honestly feel
D1
like
level that would
he's
take
gonna
that.
wind up at Villanova or something. Like
He really might.
He's from
I
Philly. He played in the
yeah.
league already. Like I think it's almost inevitable.
Yep.
I also don't want to give away my sources, but I do have a source that said his uncle is one of the assistant coaches at Indiana.
Oh, is that so?
So
That'd make
yeah,
a lot of sense
so
for him too.
that I was watching with this person at uh at a bar for the semifinals against St. John's, just picking
Yeah.
their brain about like players and stuff like that. They were like Hines already kind of has an offer maybe from St. John's.
Yeah, and
Uh
UConn, I
No.
hear.
and then Bud Clark has the uncle, and then it might have been Simpkins. His brother played for Oregon, but last offseason they wanted to play together. And
Mhm.
then Oregon didn't accept him, so he had to play at Seton Hall. So like I think the brother transferred out of Oregon, so they're gonna try and play together for like their senior year. But like
Mhm.
I got a lot of information in that blowout against St. John's that I've
Yeah,
been
yeah,
sitting
yeah.
on until everything came out. So
Well,
We we need to
it
work on the
seems
Murphy
seems like
NIL
you're on
fund.
the right track. Yeah, we do need to work on the Murphy NIL
yeah.
fund. You're not wrong.
Once we'll definitely get on that, and don't worry, I got your guys' number. This whole podcast isn't even real. I'm just doing this to talk
It's
to
just
guys that are pro
it's
players.
just bait. It's just bait.
It's just bait, yeah. So if you want to
Yeah.
make a donation, I mean, if it's a Catholic school. If you don't, you're not going to heaven. So just
I
keep that in
know
the back of your
that's
mind.
true.
Uh,
I'll tell my
going,
fiance to hold off on the house. We've got business to take care of.
Yeah.
I mean, national championship, James. Come on.
And hey, look, I'd give a lot up for a national championship. I'll tell you that right now.
Tell me everything you'd give up for it. Just let's pivot real quick. So obviously, you big Man United fan. Man United have
Yeah,
had a little bit of a remontada this past season. Give us your
little
take.
bit.
Is Carrick the guy? Are you keeping Carrick in charge?
Yes, I mean for me, it's hard to see where else we go. I mean, it's obviously going to be until the summer where we hear or see who's actually available for it. Like I hear Nagelsmann, when I hear Enrique, like I'm intrigued for sure.
Yep.
Same time, I'm just not really sure. Like I'm not sure on anything. It's impossible to feel sure on anything. I think as a United fan right now, but like something about me really thinks Michael Carrick's got something. Like I don't think we need a huge roster rebuild. We just need to add
Yep.
quality, in specific areas to really put a good team together with depth and stuff like that. We'll get money for the Champions League. We'll be playing in more competitions next year. So I think
Yep.
with the right investment and I mean, Carrick clearly knows what he's doing. He's clearly got the kind of ness for the job too, and the understanding of position and stuff. And I wouldn't have expected his name to be here at this point if
Yeah,
at the start of the season, but I'm sure he didn't either. And all he could do really is walk in and do the best he could in the role, and he's clearly done that. And sounds like the players really enjoy him and stuff too. So hard for me to look past him, honestly. It really is.
for sure. And I mean, I have not been, I've been in front offices, but never in more on the business side. I haven't been actually on the sporting side. And obviously you have. So kind of interested to pick your brain. I think John gave us a similar answer too. Like in my eyes, and again, I'm a Barcelona fan. I grew up like Spanish football, the whole thing. So I love Pep. But in your experience as well, like have you seen sometimes, and I feel like this is a little bit of what Carrick's doing. I'm sure he has his tactics, is sometimes the best thing to do, just keep it simple. 4-3-3, 4-4-2, telling people you're a terrific right winger, just do your thing, be magic. Have you seen that in your time, like playing, where maybe a manager came in, you guys were having a tough time, and just said, you know what, let's cut all the bullshit and let's just play football, like go in your positions? Or, are the tactics valid? Like what would you say there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I think definitely in to keep it in Man United's case at least, that's all they needed, and
Yeah,
time where they had a manager that seemed to be so committed to one thing and such specific details and stuff. Like they needed someone that just told them to play, put them in their position, made them feel comfortable and stuff. And I think, yeah, I think you see that all across different levels of footy. And myself, my brother, it's no different. I've had managers that overcoached, undercoached. Maybe had the right medium and stuff, or
yeah,
1 month coach too heavy, the next month took the foot off the gas, that kind of thing. I think there's all different kind of managing styles and stuff like that. But I do think it should never be lost in coaching that there just has to be an aspect of go and play, go and express yourself. I'll give you the positions and then you find the solutions kind of deal. Like a coach is always gonna have to have his helping hand and his say. But sometimes you gotta let players kind of be players, especially when you're talking higher level or any
right,
level really. The better players in their positions at those levels, like you know, sometimes you gotta let guys just try something, fail,
for sure,
lose the ball over and over again before they get the one that creates the goal, like whatever it may be. You need to still let players be players, and coaches can dictate, their tactics and principles for sure, but a lot of times players win you games and stuff like that. So you gotta still keep, you know, footy the beautiful game, so to speak.
for sure. Yeah, I know Gennaro mentioned it. Your brother mentioned it. Like your brother this year, right? He's playing a little bit higher up the field in a position that feels more natural. He's having
Yeah.
so far a very nice season. He's scored in a
Yeah.
couple of games. Gennaro mentioned it, where at the youth level, when he went to Roma and as he was bouncing around, he struggled a little bit because he kept being put in different positions.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just is like, for instance, we saw United. We saw them trying to make McTominay more of a 6. Then he
Right.
goes to Napoli and he's banging him in as a 10 because that's what he played his whole life. And I'm not saying that those changes aren't important, but as you mentioned, sometimes you just need a manager to come in and be like, these are your best traits, even though you maybe aren't the most aesthetic footballer, or the most suave. Like, why am I trying to reinvent the wheel? I think Carrick has done a good job with this United team. There's quality in the team. You have guys like Mbeumo, Cunha, Bruno's having arguably his best season, maybe of his career, revitalized. Personally, and me and Pucc, when he first got, not Pucc, but when Carrick got first hired, I think we discussed, like, is this the guy for them? As the results continue to come in, was it just new manager bounce? And at this point, it's like, unless a Luis Enrique comes and says, I want to go to United, it's like, I don't really, you got something, right? You have one in the hand. Why go for two in the bush, right? You could have went for maybe a De Zerbi, who obviously just signed with Spurs, but it's like, you're taking a risk. I kind of like what we got here. You're in fourth. You're winning games. The players like them. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. And I don't know, maybe Owen, your brother, not our producer, maybe he'll end up on that Michael Carrick staff one day or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll be debating him.
You never know. He's definitely trying to make his way there. He's making the right steps at least. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. I mean, for me, again, whoever the next manager is, they're gonna need time and stuff like that. It's easier to give kind of one of your own time, something that the fans really love, time and stuff. He seems like he looks the part. And again, whoever it ends up being, they have a tough job on their hands. But it seems like maybe someone who's knows the place and appreciates the fan base and stuff can get the job done this time around. We'll see.
Without a doubt. All right, we have one more question here. It's something that we started doing. It's what we're calling our fan question. This is from our fan Connor W. Shout out Connor W. I don't want to put his full government, even though I have it. He said, for the Ask a Pro segment, ask James about what dieting and training is like. How regimented is it, or is there a lot of freedom?
What was in training?
I think he was asking about your training, dieting, things. He's big into the
Diet.
gym.
Got
how like
Diet.
regimented? Yeah, or is it are you very on a schedule? Are you kind of given the freedom to do your own thing? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes player to player and depends on where you go and stuff like that. For me, like we definitely talk diet with our strength coach and stuff like
Yeah,
that. We do all like the body composition tests and stuff like that on a regular basis, and but then it's also kind of just up to yourself to be, you know,
in shape.
do what you think is right. Like, they don't tell me what to eat for dinner or whatever.
Right.
They provide you your kind of breakfast and lunch when you're there at the training facility and stuff, and they obviously keep that on the healthier side with your basic chicken, beef, rice, pasta, all that kind of stuff, the basics. But and like here, they don't tell me what to eat to dinner. I pick my groceries. I choose what I'm going to cook on a nightly basis and stuff like that. So I just have to look after myself. At the end of the day, if I want to kind of perform at the best level I can perform at, I have to look after my body. I have to be in the gym. Like we have, 2 to 3 mandatory team lifts a day and recovery sessions per week and kind of deal. But then what I'm doing after and stuff is for me to make sure I'm looking after myself and, you know, gym sessions on my own or the sauna, bike ride,
Right.
whatever it may be, just something to keep me, especially as I get a little bit older and further into my career, stuff that can just keep me feeling the best so that I can try and perform at my best, kind of day after day and week after week. So yeah, the gym and nutrition, all that stuff plays a really big part in my day to day. I try and look after it the best I possibly can. And obviously I give myself a little freedom with treat or a beer here and there, just like everyone else. But I
Whoa,
definitely try
whoa.
and try and be in control of what I'm putting in my body and how often I'm going to the gym and looking after myself. Because again, I still want to perform the best I can every single week.
100%. Someone please add this man to the degenerate bracketology. This dude's having a beer and a Big
And
Mac every now and then.
throw me in there.
Him versus Waza. It's like I don't know how or you versus Maradona. I don't know who we're gonna pick. But
Yeah.
that being said, James, this was an awesome interview. We really appreciate your time. Obviously, telling us your story, letting us have some fun with you too. Staying away from the PR the best you could. We'll be definitely following you down Loudoun. So
Appreciate
something that we've been doing, right, is as you can see, I actually have a fake jersey wall behind me. This is not a real wall. This is
See that? Yeah.
looks pretty good, right?
Looks really good.
Thank you. If you want, I could send it to you. You could put it on the back as a background. But something we're doing, we're gonna have to work on. You still need to get one from your brothers. We're trying to get jerseys. We're trying to do some jersey swaps. So I'm gonna have to get myself a James Murphy Loudoun United kit. And
Make that happen.
Yes, sir. When is the next time you'll be up in the New York, New Jersey area? That way, maybe we could get some of the listeners, or at least me and Pucc, to go out there, catch your game.
Yeah. So coming up, I'm playing against Brooklyn FC on May 9th, actually. So it's coming up in about a month from now. Brooklyn FC,
Yeah.
they play up at I don't know how to pronounce their stadium, but it's right up near Coney Island in Brooklyn and stuff.
They play an
right
Icon?
near the water. Yeah, that's what it is. I think that's what it is. So they play over up there, and we got them on. It's their inaugural season in the league, and yeah, we got them May 9th coming up.
Without a doubt, that'll be awesome. I think we have Gennaro versus John. I don't know what was it, Pucc? Gennaro has a game coming up that we said we were going to go to. Was he against Hartford?
Playing? No, it was. I think it was Brooklyn. I think they have a game
If it's
against
Gennaro,
Brooklyn
yeah, it's
soon.
probably that.
I think
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, I think it was when he comes back from his injury.
His injury,
I think
yep,
one of
there
the
you go.
first. Yeah, from like one of the first games was against Brooklyn.
That makes
100%.
sense.
But Ethan, you know that area well, Coney Island. You are the Cyclone, so.
A different story. That's a different story for a different day for those that don't know. But James, we appreciate the time, man. Awesome interview for. We'll be rooting for you. Everyone go follow James everywhere. He's going to help us with our NIL fun. And yeah, that being said, we appreciate it, James.
Thanks for having me, boys. I appreciate it. Oh, and Pucc, nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you.
Alrighty, awesome interview there with James. Really enjoyed and appreciated the time from him. Me and Pucc were talking about it off air. I mean, we hope that this podcast, that we would end up one day being like talking to Lamine Yamal, maybe talking to Declan Rice, talking to some of these big names. First off, not saying we're not enjoying talking to our USL guys, but maybe the avenue is just becoming a USL podcast. That may be where we have the clout. So something to keep an eye on. We're going to have MD Myers, who right now is playing at Tampa Bay over with Gennaro. Definitely do a little research on him. He's absolutely killing it. You heard James talk about it too.
The Harry Kane of USL.
Could be. I
And
gotta watch.
James and John, the Declan Rice and
Ooh,
Sergio Busquets regens in the USL.
let me
as
tell you
well.
something. They're gonna hate the fact you just called him Declan Rice.
Okay, let me think.
and
Yeah, McTominay and
who's like a legendary six? Roy Keane got a red card.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And Irish. James has his
Yeah.
Irish passport. But let's get into a quick preview here of this weekend's games. So the Premier League is back. We have Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Pucc, I'll let you talk on your team. 2 seconds. What do you think?
I think we'll get the win, but once again, it's going to be like an 80th minute 1-0 victory over Bournemouth.
So disgusting. My cherries, though. Loki, give me. Yeah. let me take Bournemouth on a draw here. I just think if you're Arsenal, you feel very comfortable, and you obviously have to go out and get a performance, but I also think there is going to just be a bigger eye on Champions League at the midweek. There has to be at this point. And I think this Bournemouth team...
There's a possibility. I think we go up 12 points if City lose this week. So I don't think we're going to totally slag off the Prem. It would be 12 points if City lose and we win. So I do think Arteta is sometimes a bit of a terrorist in terms of let me run the players into the ground so much that they can't perform.
There just needs to be a rotation at some point.
Yeah, he rotated against Southampton for the FA Cup, but obviously you got to continue to rotate with some of these guys. So we'll see. Yeah,
taking a quick look at your upcoming fixtures. I'm just curious here myself. You have Bournemouth right now. You have Sporting at the midweek. Then you have Man City next weekend.
Yeah.
Then you have Newcastle. I'm not saying that he has to rotate the full squad, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where maybe couple of... It has to be, right?
This would be the game, if any, to rotate. The only issue is our midfield is shot to hell. Like Eze and Marino are both hurt. So basically you're working with 4 midfielders, and two of them or one of them is just coming back from injury in Martin Odegaard. So it's like you have one guy, Declan Rice, who the England physio said, please do not play for us. You are in the red zone of fitness. And Zubamendi picked up a knock in Spain. So it's we aren't working on full strength in the midfield. That's not an excuse. We still should beat Bournemouth. But in terms of the rotation, I don't know how much we could rotate the legs in midfield.
Fair enough. Let's move over to Everton versus Brentford. You wrote this down. I'm going to take Everton.
I'm going to take Everton too. The main reason I wrote this down is they're in 7th and 8th place on the same amount of points. And obviously 5th place will probably get Champions League. So both are 3 points out of a Champions League spot. So it is a massive game for European footy. This whoever gets 7th gets in the Conference League. So both teams are vying for that European spot. So I do think this game will provide some fireworks, but I do think Everton will be able to pull through.
Yeah, I like Everton. I like the squad they're playing with. This is a team, I think, for Everton, too, and I hate to say it if you're an Evertonian. Maybe not Garner because he just signed a big deal, but I feel like NDI might move. I was going to say Garner, but not.
See, I don't think so.
You think they stay?
They're
going to have a couple of guys get picked off.
I don't think so. Nobody's really looking at them as and also, why would you leave if you're playing European footy?
Well, that's the key is if they get that. I don't know. I don't know what the wage is, but I hear what you're saying. That's fair. Honestly, that's fair. I think I was going more so for the fact this is a team that in a couple of years is going to be damn, they were that was a really sick team. But you're right. They're in a good position. Why would they, especially a year out of potential relegation in Spurs' position?
For some reason, the whole year they felt so prime Barclays for me. Yeah. David Moyes is the manager. Yep. Their star players are Jack Grealish, Kieran Dewsbury Hall.
Grealish is there. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the only one where I think he could leave just because I think the optional fee that they agreed to was something like 50 million, and he's out for the year. Yeah, he's been out for the year since January. So I could see him going back, them not accepting him going back, and then him going either back to Villa or Everton come back in with a 25-30 mil offer for him.
Honestly, Grealish is going to end up somewhere where number one, he's playing European football, but number two, the guy should just go back to Villa. He should just go back to his boyhood club, right? I feel that's a good fit to end it out, or I don't know. But next match, Sunderland versus Spurs. We were hoping to have a couple more guys fit after kind of the international break and this FA Cup break, things like that. I think we're getting some guys back. Like, it's tough. I really don't know. I was really hoping to see Kudus maybe in some sort of role this weekend. I don't know if it was this game or the next one he's supposed to be back. But here's the thing I'm excited about with this game.
Well, brother, he's not coming back.
Well, right.
He's on the Kulusevski arc right now.
Kulusevski. I forgot he existed. I'm going to take Spurs in this one. It seems like since De Zerbi has come, something that's been good is the vibes have been back up. When Tudor came in, the vibes were never up. It was just kind of all right, like we sacked him, like a new voice, let's see it. I know we kept saying like, oh, he's a firefighter, but like that wasn't really vibes up. That was just like what's nice I could say about him. So we're excited about De Zerbi at this point. It is what it is. It seems like he's taking a really big role in like coaching players individually and not necessarily putting his tactics and saying you're a left center back, this is what my left center back does, but like finding ways for it to work. I just need to see a performance. Just give me a result. Let's find our way out of the relegation zone. The worst part is Sunderland's the type of team that I just feel like they're sneaky and they're just gonna give us issues.
Give me the Black Cats.
Fine, whatever. Fuck you. I'm taking Bournemouth to win now, not a draw anymore. Fuck you. City versus Chelsea, probably the game of the weekend. I'll have to take a look at some of the other matchups, but I'm going to take City here. I just think they're back.
Put the over 4.5 goals. Bet that.
Okay,
because
you like that.
City is going to put BTA on Chelsea this week. It's going to be like a 5-0 thrashing, and like it's going to be 3-0 at halftime. And LinkedIn Liam, Meta, make the players respect the ball as we're down 3-0 and Pep is losing his mind on the sidelines because it's only 3.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I agree with you. City's going to put a little BTA, and on top of it, I just think Chelsea's in a weird spot. City are kind of on the mend, like on the way back up. And at this point, City only have one thing really to compete for. I mean, I think FA Cup, and then it's the Prem. It's a long shot, but if you win this weekend, again, you have to hope Arsenal drop points other places. Then you play Arsenal next weekend. You just beat it. Like, there's got to be a little bit of hope in that. La Liga, Bilbao versus Villarreal. I'll take Villarreal here because Bilbao are in shit form, but should be a good one, mid-table kind of matchup. I have Villarreal's third, but Bilbao's mid-table. Another big one is Derby days in Catalonia. You have Barcelona versus Espanyol. Here's what makes me anxious about this game. Barca's whole focus is on Atleti at the midweek. Barca's banged up. Barca's rehabbing. Espanyol are not great. I just feel like Barca's home, though. You put Barca as home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're first. Okay. Yeah, when it comes... This is a tricky one, man. I'm going to take Barcelona on my team.
Yeah, like, I'll take Barcelona, but I can definitely see what you're saying with Espanyol winning, only because not only everything you mentioned, but they have such a lead right now in the league, 7 points, that, like, you're sitting there and you're like, you could, in theory, like, if you're going to drop a game, you're going to drop the game midweek or on the weekend before the second leg of a Champions League.
We just talked about it with Arsenal. It's the exact same position, like almost exact. You're 7 points ahead. The guys in second don't look terrific. You have another El Clasico coming around the corner, like where you could just jump that lead again. And this is like a team that wants to beat you. Like Espanyol hates Barcelona, right? Like the whole thing. So I can see Espanyol, like this is their Champions League final. And for Barca, it's like, we just have to get through the game. Maybe I don't see us losing because I don't think Hansi Flick's going to allow that shit to happen. You know what this kind of reminds me of? I don't remember who we played. This could be the game before that Remontada. Barca before PSG, they instead of like being like, oh, let's like just focus on PSG, whoever they played before PSG, it was like, let's go put fucking belt to ass. You know, like let's go ball the fuck out against Espanyol, and then now when we're coming into this game, it's just hot, like good vibes, like fuck you guys. So I could see that too. We just said pretty much everything I said: loss, draw, and win. Of course, I'm going to take my boys though, and I think we'll look good. I hope we rotate the squad a bit though, because we could use it. Sevilla versus Atletico Madrid. Yeah, it's kind of like relegation versus a top 4 team. I mean, I'll take Atleti, but I'm curious to see what Simeone does as he rotate his squad here in a game where they're fighting for third spot. But again, really Champions League is the big goal there. What do you think, Pucc?
Knowing Simeone, he's going to rotate his team to holy hell. He's gonna bring up players you've never heard of in your life to give their debut to, so that everybody's fresh and ready for Barca. Like, you know, this man does not care about this game at all.
That's hilarious. I love that. Let's move into Serie A real quick. You have Atalanta versus Juventus. Who do you got here, Pooch?
Think I have
Out of who?
I'm gonna say Atalanta, but I have a feeling Juventus may actually win. But I'm gonna pick Atalanta.
Okay, fair enough. I don't have a take. I'll say Juventus. Como versus Inter. So this could put the title back on the table for us.
This is the title decider.
This is the title decider.
decider.
Give me Como. I just think Inter are surviving and winning games. I know they obviously just kind of put Beltest to Roma, but the way Como's playing, just fun, free-flowing football. Give me Como in this one. I think Inter maybe drop points here.
Give me a draw at the beautiful Lake Como.
Thank you.
I think both teams they're the two best defenses in Serie A.
Yeah.
And I just see a 0-0 incoming. Like,
Okay.
I just see like the beautiful background. There's probably the sun setting over the lake. There's so many families in the stands because no real fans are coming out, no hardcore ones. So I just think it's going to be a nice 0-0 on the weekend. Everybody's going to go home for pizza, pasta afterwards and be like, well, it was an entertaining game. It was 0-0, but at least it was entertaining.
Right.
Give me a 0-0.
Okay, fair enough. And now let's move over real quick to USL. So I think this is something fair. These guys come on the show for us.
Yeah.
I think it's fair for us to highlight them. So tonight you will have Loudoun United taking on Louisville. I think everyone we've interviewed has told us that Louisville is such a hard place to play.
Yeah.
I believe they are in Loudoun though. They are at Loudoun's home pitch. Yes, they are. We'll be keeping an eye there, James, and making sure that he gets a good result. So tune in and give them a look. Another matchup here. I'm just scrolling through. What else we got? We have Loudoun. Pucch's Hartford will be taking on El Paso.
Not my Hartford.
Well, you always
I'm
talk
not a
about
Hartford fan.
Gennaro's Tampa Bay and MD Myers, who will be interviewing next week. They are playing Saturday at 7:30 against Oakland. Gennaro is injured, so he will not be playing, but you can get a look at MD Myers. Hope he scores a couple goals for us. And then let me take a quick look to see
They're
where
playing. One Knoxville is playing on Saturday. Portland Hearts of Pine.
are they in Portland? That's an awesome kind of vibe over there.
They are in Portland, correct? But I think
Good for
it's the Portland, Maine, not the Portland,
Correct.
Washington. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
They have decent jerseys, Portland. Man. They're a newer club. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can get all these games on ESPN Plus. So definitely give it a look. Yeah, ESPN Plus. I think a couple are on Paramount at times, but keep an eye out. We have a lot of love for the guys that come on the show. It's always awesome being able to talk to them taking the time out of their busy schedules. Or I guess if you're talking to James, he's not playing Xbox, so he had time for us. That being said, that's all we got here. Nice long episode. Nice little one to get you into the weekend. Pooch, you got any left for the people?
Nope. Enjoy the weekend. And yeah, have fun.
Enjoy the matches. Yeah, that's it for
Away
us.
we
Class is
go.
permanent. Peace.